Welcome everybody to our first game in the best of 5 series, the semifinal between the Russian Circus and BeGenius. So this is the second qualifier for HGC 2017. It's a best of 5 now. We're starting things off with Tomb of the Spider Queen, and whichever team wins the best of 5 here is going to make it into the league for 2017 and is also guaranteed to have $100,000 just as a participation fee, so they can fully focus on Heroes of the Sport esports. That doesn't include prize money, doesn't include team salary, so it's a pretty big deal for all of these players. A huge opportunity if you want to be a professional player. And with Tomb of the Spider Queen being our first map, we have a ban on Oriel, interestingly enough, by BeGenius, with a great showing against Team Liquid, taking that series with a 2-0. And of course, I also have Tetcher with me once again as our commentator here for the draft and the game.
Indeed. So starting off with the picks early on, like you said, the map fearing coming out. ETC being hovered over by Russian Circus, solid pick overall, and a little bit different to the games we were just seeing, but of course, maps were different as well. We saw a lot of global priority overall, a lot of Zarya priority as well from BeGenius. We'll see if they continue that theme during this series.
BeGenius has so far always tried to go for the Malfurion as one of their first picks. That's totally correct. And as you said, Zarya is apparently a huge priority for them. Then again, one of the things that we of course had in the series that they played against Team Liquid was very different maps. They played on, first of all, Dragonshire as the second map, our last map that we saw, and they also had as the first map, we had Cursed Hollow. In this game now, bot laner with a Thrall currently being hovered over. The new Earthquake for Thrall is a pretty big deal, and it's one of those things that we see coming into play a lot. We have rarely actually seen Thrall going into Sundering these days. So let's see what they're actually picking for. And there she is again. It's the Zarya.
Yep, they love it, they're good at her, it works for them. Excited to see it. I will say I have been peeking in on a couple Russian Circus scrims lately, and they have been testing out some picks I would be interested in seeing. Fortunately, this is not the map we're going to be seeing them on. I will not give spoilers. But against Zarya as well, they usually would intend to either ban out the Zarya or pick it themselves for the kind of comps I've been seeing. But BeGenius, they love it too much. Stealing it away, they have that priority.
The one thing about Russian Circus is that they are very... In the tradition of Russian teams and Heroes of the Storm, they're extremely aggressive. Not necessarily in the way that they draft, but the way that they approach the game. So what you sometimes see is them overcommitting to certain fights, that they start to snowball and then going a bit too deep and losing the battle then in the end, or not going back fast enough and then losing that advantage because they get 1 or 2 kills against them. So it's something that they have to definitely work on, but that has more or less also been a tradition for a lot of these Russian teams that came into Heroes of the Storm back in the days. They were the ones who actually innovated a lot of the strategies around quintuple blood, for example, which since then got nerfed because Blizzard never intended it to be like that stacking nuke ability that you can have. But right now, this is just like setting the pace a little bit for the series. And we have Johanna banned out simply because she is great on this map, gets a lot of AoE damage and therefore, especially against the minions, a lot of wave clear. And she has seen a pretty big priority these days for a lot of teams.
Yeah, she's still good. She's definitely in that top 3 section of tanks with ETC, Muradin, and Johanna basically all together. Zarya is being picked very highly, but not always as that tank role. She can be picked as sort of a utility tank support bruiser role, just all in one. Very effective at all of those things, so you will usually see her with another tank. And this is very much a Russian style. The Jada for the burst, the Haka for the picks. Immediate Russian Circus going for any kind of pick potential here.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to point out again is also that first ban that we see for BeGenius. One of the reasons why they ban Oriel out is because Sevkaja, who's currently playing the support role for Russian Circus, has been prioritizing the hero very highly. So they try to take Oriel away from them for that reason. The Haka isn't really the most common pick on this map, since normally we see him on bigger maps where you get more through your global, but he's a hero that can set up very nice ganks on this one in particular, on Tomb of the Spider Queen, because of all those brushes that you have where you can just simply move in. Reyna is being used again, and BeGenius did that before, and considering that we have now Tomb of the Spider Queen as the map, and
this has to be stacks.
This has to be Season Marksman. I mean, last time they didn't play Season Marksman when they used Reyna, but back then there was a Tracer against him, there was an Illusion against him, and we were also a very different map, Cursed Hollow. The stacking process on this map right now is fantastic, and we've been talking about the cap being removed during the last patch, so you can get a ton of damage in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, the heal on level 1, the Give Me More, is still solid. You can just get some serious value on this map with that, especially if, once again, you combine it with the Resistance talent that you can get on at level 7, and that gives you a huge amount of protection against the kind of burst that Russian Circus want to go for here. But it's the appeal of just how much damage they can get is just too good here, and Russian Circus finishing it off with the Carrot team here, either giving themselves some extra burst damage or some extra burst healing, giving themselves a good amount of flexibility with that pick.
Yeah, our first game therefore completed with the draft. So guys, let's jump in and see who's going to take it between the Russian Circus and BeGenius. Our first game of a best of 5 series now here at the semi-final of the HGC Europe Qualifier. Game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready. It's the semi-final. We have the Russian Circus going up against BeGenius with Mopsy on the left side for the blue team on Dehaka, Power of Dream on ETC. Neon is playing Jaina. We have Sir Ice Cream on Tychus, and Sevkaje is playing Charism. And to the right side of the map, it's of course BeGenius, the French team here, with Tank for the win, playing Thrall, Arcane on Zarya. We have Unstable on Malfurion, once again Danatan on Muradin, and Kirva on Reyna. Reyna this time, as expected, going for the season marksman. The Marshal is in the house, and let's see how much pressure he's going to be able to push onto those 2 tanks that we see for the Russian Circus.
Yeah, Reyna wanting to fill the enemy team with the maximum amount of daylight, so the season marksman, the easiest map to stack it on. And like we already mentioned before this game started, it now has an unlimited stack. So basically you can just keep it going even after you've reached the top for the activatable's attack speed boost.
Yeah, one of the things that's now going to be very interesting is how they engage the early game. Reyna, of course, is still able to get a bit of damage out, but if you're going for a stacking process, then you really want to have your big team fights a bit later on in the game. You have a huge opportunity with level 13 to get the Giant Killer for even more damage, but even without it, you will get a fair amount of pressure against the front line. And on this map, we can easily see him on 60 stacks or more in the later stage of the games, which is going to pressure the front line of the Russian Circus incredibly well. But at the same time, Dehaka is going to look to set up a couple of ganks to see if he can maybe sneak through one of the Brush Stalkers into the back line and get a quick pull there.
Yeah, we will keep an eye out for that. One of the other talents worth mentioning here, the Lingering Chill for the Jaina. So no machine gun build that we've been seeing the majority of Jaina's run here. In this case, just getting the increased duration on the chill, so she's more likely to get that bonus damage, which makes a bit more sense as not a huge amount of heroes are going to have that escape. And also, if it does hit Zarya and Zarya activates her shield, she can wait out that shield and still get bonus damage without just giving Zarya all of that energy stack.
At this point, already the rotation for both the teams, with Muradin also stacking on a Stormbolt here. Danatan, of course, has to be careful, especially of Sir Ice Cream, who's currently playing Tychus, and is going to try to go straight into those percentage damage talents. Besides that, basically the build's roughly as you would expect here. The block party taken for ETC makes, of course, a whole lot of sense, considering that they're up against a heavy auto attacker like Reyna and also against the Thrall here. The bot lane, where we have the solo lane, is currently dominated by Thrall plus Dehaka, so the 2 that have decent wave clear can control this. Mopsy has the opportunity to move into the mid if need be. But already a few potential ganks set up by both teams, looking for an opportunity to get ahead in the early game.
Yeah, both want to try and find their chance here. Paradream getting demounted and harassed repeatedly by Danatan, who's still building stacks here. And you just said something that is one of my favorite things in esports, and that's how silly names sound in certain senses. Oh, hang on. Muradin getting engaged, but here he is, dragged. He jumps out. Is there enough to stay? No. Sevka diving deep to get the kill. And they're able to pick that up very nicely. But one thing you said earlier, which was just perfectly shows how cool esports names are, is you never hear he's got to be afraid of Sir Ice Cream in any other scenario in the world. It is the best thing.
Dude, when you said like one thing that you said, it really triggered in my head, just like, what did I say now? What happened? What did I just say? And I had no clue what you were going for. But yeah.
No, just how much I love esports names, because they just create sentences that have probably never been uttered in the world.
By the way, Frost Armor on the Jaina has taken, I think you mentioned that already, and also the Earth Ally now for Charism. So yeah, so Ice Cream, by the way, it's still one of the best names that we have in here. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. A nice dodge. Danatan needs to jump out here. But there's a lot of pressure currently on Danatan to go for the interrupts, and it costs him a fair amount of hit points.
Yeah, but this is the joy of Muradin. He does have that third wind here, so he can get that extra healing, that dwarven healing that he gets passively, which is a lot more than most heroes. As long as he backs out of fights for a bit, he will just regen. But you've mentioned the Frost Armor and the Urban Ally. A lot of blocks coming out, and this is purely as a reaction to the Reyna and the Thrall here. So this is the first time we're seeing, instead of Reyna being used as a counter, we're seeing counters being used on Reyna. Sevka actually taking a lot of hits here, and Block Party being dropped to try and help him there. Neon getting chased down, but Tank for the Win could not land the wall.
Very much so, the pressure. Both of the teams are, of course, attempting to turn in right now, which triggered that fight in the first place. And you're totally right when you're talking about the adjustments, and this is what I love here. They're not blindly picking through a build, they actually adjust against the opponent. And it's oftentimes really important that you know when to adjust and when you can still cope with an opponent's hero or talent choice without adjusting your own build. So a lot of flexibility shown by the Russian Circus. They are level 7 now. Sliding in, Danatan. Well done. He might fall again. Gets healed, but it's too late. It's a second kill for the Russian Circus, eliminating Muradin again.
Yeah, the grenade interrupting Muradin's Dwarf Toss here, and the grenade interrupting the escape of Malfurion as well. The Power of Dream will fall for this. The overaggression. Kira now trying to punish Sir Ice Cream, but Sevka diving in for the save here. He has taken on his level 7 the Heavenly Zeal, that increased movement speed. He does not have Cleanse anymore on level 7, which is a big reason why he's not picked in the support role as much. But the extra movement speed allows a little bit more aggression and a small chance of escape, and of course takes the pressure off ETC having to think about taking the speed metal.
We were promised aggression, and aggression is what we're getting right now. I'm liking it. Another talent, you talked about the level 7 on Thrall at the bot lane actually falling solo against Moxio. Wow. No, that shouldn't have happened, which could allow the turn in and the first Web Weaver wave. But we have another battle in the mid lane where again Danatan is in trouble, barely getting out of this one now. But another talent that I wanted to mention real quickly is with the Feeding Frenzy as level 7 on Dehaka. So now we have the cooldown reduction on the drag, which is actually super cool to see. Not really a talent that we have too often in play.
Yeah, one more talent that we have not mentioned is going to be the Revolution Overdrive, coming in for Reyna. It's talent that we saw back when Reyna was a high priority pick in the Asian regions. It basically gives him extra movement speed for every hero that is around him, and that allows him that little bit of escape that he lacks. He misses out on the resistance, but instead is going to play a bit more micro heavy as opposed to a bit more standstill and do all of the damage. And it also gives him the potential for chasing, which is what they want. If you combine that with the Earthquake, there is no one who's going to be able to get away from him. Danatan, once again, getting punished, interrupting his Dwarf Toss. He is taken out, and heroics are achieved by Russian Circus.
And with that, we have the Mosh Pit now, the 7-sided strike. They are more than a level ahead right now. They're absolutely playing a fantastic game here. And again, Reyna, of course, is going to get a little bit more value later on when he has more stacks. He's currently at 21. His quest talent completes at 40. But even after that, he is going to continue to gain damage here. The problem for them really is that they don't have level 10 just yet. So they're currently losing a fort at the bot lane. The one in the mid lane is severely damaged. And we're seeing Russian Circus look for another kill. And Danatan runs straight into them. Could fall again. The 7-sided is not getting enough value though, as Danatan dwarfs toss out of it immediately.
Yeah, Neon took a bit of damage, but you immediately saw that movement speed that he gets from Sevka, activating, allowing him to reposition himself very well, and that movement speed is very strong. And for a hero like Jada, that is ideal. Being able to micro yourself around so much better, positioning yourself so that you're less likely to get picked off. On Jada, that is exceptionally useful.
Another turn-in, by the way, in the meantime, from the Russian Circus, or at least the attempt, and they are very close to getting a second Web Weaver wave. But we have level 10 abilities now for both teams, which could result in the fight. Earthquake has been chosen, the Hyperion for Reyna. We see Malfurion with the Silence, and once again the Expulsion Zone. So both teams attempting to go for the Web Weaver wave. It would be a big deal if the Russian Circus can make it work, and they actually go for Danatan again, who is using everything he has to stay alive. The Hyperion is on the ground, but look at that mosh pit, baby! Down they go. 1, 2, 3 kills. Great play by Power of Dream. Exceptionally well done, and that is a dream come true for the Russian Circus.
Yeah, Reyna attempted to get the good mosh pit. The Earthquake Hyperion combo, super strong, but completely negated by the fact that Muradin was zoned out so far that he couldn't interrupt the mosh pit, and that 4-man mosh pit put the Russian Circus in an insane position. They're now using that advantage to push in the boss. They will get this, and they have their web weavers, so this is going to be an insane push. They may even be able to get a keep out of this.
This is absolutely crazy. That push is going to be so good. And you mentioned Earthquake plus Hyperion. It's such a strong tool that they have here, especially, of course, with trapping heroes, maybe even with the Expulsion Zone, but they could not capitalize on it yet. And the Russian Circus is exploiting every single advantage that they have, no matter how small. They have great engagements here thus far, and this is something that BeGenius was caught off a bit unaware. So they need to be cautious here. Once again, Kirva barely escaping. Reina moving out, but look at Mopsio coming in. Oh, great play here. I am absolutely loving the style that the Russian team is showcasing.
Yeah, the RK Mopsio out of nowhere, just grabbing up Reina despite the huge amount of healing that he got from himself and Unstable. But we're now seeing Russian Circus pushing in, the boss with the Web Weaver behind. The bottom Web Weaver is still pushing as well, so that's going to start putting pressure onto the tier 2s. But this is a commitment for the keep, and with all their heroes alive and heroics only 20 seconds away, could they go further, Khaldor?
I doubt that they will be really willing to... Nah, they can't push into Hyperion. I don't think that's going to happen. But they get the keep, and that is a big deal already. Muradin still at the bottom of the map, and currently the boss is moving in. This could be one of these over-engagements that we talked about a bit earlier. The Hyperion is here. I don't think they should do this. They should actually move back. They might lose heroes here. Muradin, if he was with the team, might have been able to get a Stormbolt in for the additional damage, but they have to retreat right now, baited out the ult. I think the saving grace was really that we didn't see the Earthquake come into play here. Thrall didn't have an opportunity to use that in that battle, but that's one of the things where the Russian Circus has to be very careful. They play a very strong game so far, but if they stay too long in one of these fights, it might turn against them.
Yeah, the defensive Hyperion worked out very, very nicely there for Kira. But like I said, if Russian Circus stay too long, it's exactly what we say from the majority of the Russian teams. Huge aggression. And we saw that. They weren't even able to get the shield off the core, though. But they were able to push really, really aggressively. If it hadn't been for that Hyperion, I think they might have even stayed through the Hyperion, but the expulsion zone was a bit too scary for them. They didn't want to get out-positioned, so they were able to pull back.
Yeah, it's just like the death timers are not really big enough yet. The boss, of course, as it scales over time, was also not as strong as they would want it. But we are seeing them with level 16 talents, probably dropping faster than the 13 for the French team. We have the Ferocious Stalker taken on 13. We're seeing the Ice Barrier now for Jaina herself. And we have the Sixth Sense taken on the side of Charism. So the 16 talents, once they come into play, are going to give them a massive boost again. The big problem that we really just saw with that Reina pick in this game so far is that he didn't get that much value yet. He is stacking, and he was actually doing a very good job early on, but then they started to fall behind. He's still at 26, and his Hyperions have definitely done a whole lot of work in the game so far, but he's still waiting to pick up his level 13 talent, where he is going to get a little power spike against the front line. The Thrall combo with the Hyperion didn't work out for them yet. So the comp that they have is actually not bad. The problem that they really have is that setting up that comp properly is very difficult. And that's mostly because Russian Circus is just all over the place. With Mopsio flanking from the side, Power of Dream getting good mosh off. They are looking very, very solid in this game.
Yeah, and Russian Circus, despite the fact they're playing so aggressively, a lot of their talents are a little bit more passive. They hit that 16, and I would like to point out, before the 16 happens, that they currently have 4 different block talents, 2 of which are AoE. They are absolutely trying to play against that Thrall Reina, and it's working so well for them. But here are the level 13s available for BeGenius, but could it be too little too late? We'll have to see. The double Giant Killer has been picked, so like you said, they have a huge amount of extra damage against that front line, and a spell barrier coming in from Zarya, so she can try and burst her way through that Jaina. But Jaina counteracting that with the Northern Exposure, attempting to burst through whatever kind of protection is offered up from BeGenius.
This is actually the moment where I would normally be a bit afraid for the Russian team if we were on the same talent level, or just on the same level roughly, because of those 2 giant killers and what can be done with them. But since they already have a 3-level lead and they dominated the map thanks to the talent advantage, it seems like a very clean-cut game for the Russian Circus, unless they fall into a trap right now. So at this point, let's see, we have down to the bottom of the map, we are still seeing so Ice Cream here. They are starting to take the camps away again. Danatan is playing very far back. He needs to be careful here. He was pressured by Tychus in all of those fights very heavily. But this is the moment when the Russian Circus wants to go for keep number 2.
Yeah, they're going to begin to put the pressure onto this bottom lane. They want to try and grab something. Mopsio trying to sneak past the root, but he is caught at it. But with the Web Weavers coming in and with these Siege Giants, this keep will go down later or sooner, depending on how aggressive they wish to go with this. But what are we talking about? It's Russian Circus. Of course they're going to go aggressive. They immediately move in as the Web Weaver arrives, and that keep does go down. And now they're going to be looking for either a pick or to rotate up to the mid lane.
Yeah, this is one of the moments where you need to make sure that you get your combo off if you're on BeGenius, or you will lose that game. Mopsio is going for the drag the entire time. His cooldown reduction on level 7 is of course helping with him trying to make that happen. Here comes already the Hyperion. Decent one, but the mosh pit is in again, gets interrupted, but it's a bit too late. ETC, is he getting punished for it? Yes, indeed he is. It's a 1-1 kill, but the core is racing down. And yes, this is a great game here, and the lead in the best of 5 series for Russian Circus. Impressive performance by them against BeGenius on map number 1. Okay, from that to game number 2, Dragonshire is our map. The Russian Circus in the best of 5 is in the lead. So it's map number 2. They need to win 3 maps in order to make it to the league in 2017. But BeGenius has shown strong games here today. Let's see if they can do it again. In this case, they have first pick, first ban. We will probably see them with the Malfurion very early in the game again. And considering the strategies that they've been running so far, they look at Tychus and they say like, the way that he pressured Muradin in the last game, we don't want to deal with that again, so a Tychus ban could be the case. We would still expect them to attempt and go for a Dehaka here, and keep in mind that both of these teams actually prioritize Dehaka quite highly, could eventually even end up in a ban at some point in this series.
Yeah, and if they are prioritizing the Dehaka, the ETC ban makes a lot of sense. They want to try and choke out Russian Circus for the solid tanks on this map, and with BeGenius getting the first pick, a first pick Dehaka wouldn't be out of the question for them.
So the only tank that is, by the way, not allowed, and I think most of you already know that, is Varian. In official tournaments, Varian, or like new heroes in general, are always not allowed for 2 weeks after their release. All unofficial tournaments that don't have anything to do with Blizzard officially can do whatever they want with their rule set and allow the hero earlier. But if you're watching an official Blizzard tournament like the Qualifier here, you can expect new heroes to always be banned out for 2 weeks, which means that now in the second Qualifier for HGC Europe, we're not seeing Varian, but he will be allowed for the third and last Qualifier. Dehaka, shocker, is being used as the first hero here for BeGenius, or could be.
You say it's Dehaka Shokalaka?
Dehaka Shokalaka, yeah. The thing is that they adjust their draft. They picked so far Malfurion first every time they could. Now they have a team against them that prioritizes Dehaka as highly as they do, and they know that. So they switched from Malfurion to Dehaka because they think that he is just a much more of a playmaker. And of course they also realized in the last game how much the Circus was actually relying on Dehaka to get these setups against heroes like Reyna, who could not really unfold their full power because of it. And that allows now the Russian Circus to head over into the Malfurion. So the Malfurion was given up by BeGenius, picked up therefore by the Russian team, and we have them with a false stat to at least have some global mobility, since they themselves banned out Brightwing, and therefore both of the teams are already working against the global pressure that could be put on this map.
Yeah, they have the global mobility, and also Falstad does work. It's a little bit not in terms of like the top 2 heroes who are combined with Malfurion, but the cooldown reduction does still help him if he goes for the Hammerang build, or even just gives him that extra escape. No matter what he does, he still gets the extra damage. BeGenius, for I think the first time, not picking Zarya in their first 3 heroes, trying to decide which ranged assassin they want.
Kiva has shown some great play on Vala. It just seems that it's one of those things where they say, hey, do we ban out Tychus or do we pick him here? And I guess in the end, it's more going to be a comfort pick for Kiva. I would not be surprised at all if they decide in favor of Vala. He seems to be favoring Vala a little bit, and you just need to play something that you're very confident in against such a strong team. So them going for Vala, definitely Kiva going to pick up the hero here. I could see a ban on Tychus. We have the Russian Circus now with a ban on their side. And they could actually just like get rid of another healer if they're afraid of something here. That's also quite noteworthy, I feel. BeGenius hasn't even hovered over healer. They didn't even think about that. They said, like, okay, if they want to ban something else out, it doesn't matter. And that just shows a lot of confidence into their support player, saying, like, yeah, Malfurion is already out, Brightwing is also taken away. No matter what, I can play the Oriel here. I can go into the Brightwing. Depending on what they do, we might even like consider Morales. So that doesn't really seem something where they are worried.
Yeah, they have plenty of options, and as such, not concerning about it. And because of that, we may not even see Russian Circus banning out a healer. Right now, they are considering, they're not hovering Zarya. They've seen the priority BeGenius put on it, and they're thinking they don't want to play against it. And the Zarya shields onto the Thrall would be very scary. So Russian Circus gonna ban it away, remove that comfort pick for BeGenius. BeGenius look like they still want to play some kind of double tank hovering over the Tiger span.
This is an awesome draft, guys. This is a great draft. That really shows that both of the teams put a lot of thought into what they ban and what they pick here, trying to analyze the opponent from the games that were played so far. I mean, you can be certain 100% that these boys have been looking at each other's draft already, have tried to do a bit of homework and see, okay, what did they pick in the first qualifier? What happened in the last few games that they played? They probably scrimmed against each other. And with a high priority that BeGenius up to this point put on the Zarya, the Russian Circus said they are going to pick her up now if we don't ban her. So they take one of the comfort picks away. So really smart move on their part. BeGenius, they have already done a couple of really smart moves there as well with the ETC, with the Dehaka first pick. And them going into a ban of Arthurs is actually also really telling. We haven't seen an Arthurs at all, I feel. And this is really some... Actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the last qualifier, we had one game where the Russian Circus played Arthurs. And BeGenius banning that hero out, that's not something where they say, yeah, that hero, we're afraid of it. Keep in mind, Muradin hasn't even been picked yet. But they're just saying, we know how you play, we know the style that you use, and we are not going to deal with the Arthurs here. We've seen that before. They probably scrimmed against each other. That's a really cool ban to see. That shows just knowledge about what your opponent prefers.
Yeah, we do see from Russian Circus something that they also seem to prefer, the Jaina, going for that burst, and this would have comboed perfectly with the Arthas, like you said. So the Arthas ban very solid for BeGenius. Instead, Russian Circus hovering over the Johanna once again. Muradin completely ignored. They just want the extra tankiness and the centering that they get from Johanna to combo with the Jaina and probably the AoE false start.
Yeah, BeGenius, of course, they still... Okay, they go into the Rhaegar for the heals. Muradin is an option for the additional tank, now that the rest has more or less been taken away from them. They, I feel, need to be... Do they need to be worried about the wave clear? I don't really think so. They have the Lightning Shield on Rhaegar, they have the multi-shot on Vala, Thrall together with the Lightning Shield can do a good job. We have the Haka up at the top lane, so we can see for sure them going into the... Oh, okay. Now, there we go. Not going for an additional tank. Actually considering another range. Without Zarya. Still committing to the Dehaka as more or less the main tank of their setup. We don't see a lot of teams do that, but BeGenius has consistently been headed into that direction. Sylvanas would be very cool here as a pick. Very interesting. Again, going for a lot of push. Last time they actually chose Zul, which in this case would also have provided them with another frontliner, but they decide against it because they don't have the Zarya to help these frontliners out with the sustain.
Yeah, we did see, however, on this map, in the last series BeGenius played on it, they did run Dehaka. That time they did have the Zarya, but they ran it with the adaptation anyway, so just giving it the extra tankiness, showing they're not afraid to do so. In Russian Circus, giving themselves a solo laner, they want someone to compete with Thrall, and that looks like it might be Chen. Other options for them could be Alarak. Leoric, probably a little bit less, but Chen and Alarak would be very solid for them.
I could totally have seen a Leoric here as well. I agree with the Alarak, by the way. That might have been a good pick for them. But a Leoric has a lot of combo potential here. First of all, you have Jaina to capitalize on an Entomb, and you also have Falstad, so you can simply Entomb and Gust, and then focus the target down with Jaina having her burst damage. Doesn't really fit their style here, apparently, so they decide against the Leoric with the Entomb, and instead in favor of Chen, which can, of course, bully lanes pretty heavily. And it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to pick for his level 10 talent. Even though with Rhaegar being in play and the cleanse available, it's still highly likely that we're going to see Storm, Earth and Fire here. But Dragonshire is the map now, guys. It's the second map in the best of 5 series here at the semifinals. So the Russian Circus is in the lead, and we're going to jump into the second map now to find out if they can make that a 2-0 or if BeGenius is already coming back into the series here on Dragonshire. Game number 2, everybody. We have the Russian Circus against BeGenius. And to the left side with the 1-0 lead in the best of 5 series, we have Mopsio on Johanna, Power of Dream on Chen for the Russian team, Neon on Jaina, So Ice Cream on Falstad, Sevkaja on Malfuri in this game. And to the right side, the French team with Tank for the win on Thrall. They're down 1 game in the best of 5 series here at the semifinal. This time they locked down the Haka for themselves. Danatan playing the hero again. We saw him with a great performance against Team Liquid on this very map. Let's see if he can repeat that. Unstable on Rhaegar, Arcane on Sylvanas, and Vala as expected being played by Kirva, going for the comfort hero here. And Falstad heading straight into a seasoned marksman, going for the auto attack build.
Yeah, stacking up some damage, preventing basically Spell Shield being used as a direct counter here. Or Dahaka taking his equivalent. He does have a talent that can reduce a bit of ability power damage to him. So Falstad making it so that they have their damage spread out and leaving the ability damage to Jaina. Whereas other talent, pretty standard for everyone except for Chen, who goes for the elusive brawler. He has several options he can take at level 1. This one 100% works, especially seeing as they want to try and block as much damage from Thrall and Vala as possible.
With Falstad, we have to watch out what he's going to take on, especially at level 7. You can go for a full auto attack build, even though it's a little bit less common with Secret Weapon. A hybrid build going for the boomerang so that you have additional wave clear is still played quite a bit. But besides that, we're seeing still rotations happening. And actually, it looks like the Ice Cream and Sevkaja are trying to set up a bit of an attack or gank up at the top, trying to stay outside of vision and sneaking past, going into the bush, basically waiting for the activation of the shrine up here to see who's moving up top so that they can take them down.
Arcane, though, thinking a similar idea, staying out of sight, but of course, 3 heroes oftentimes better than 2. He's going to be able to scout Sir Ice Cream, though, and that will give Tank for the win easily enough time to back out. But Arcane takes a little bit of harassment in exchange, and a lot of XP is about to be lost in that bot lane if Rhaegar can push up the lane any quicker.
Yeah, 3 against 2 up at the top, and down here we're seeing Rhaegar pushing the wave in. Thrall actually falling now. That should not have happened. Okay, yes. Apparently even in the 3 versus 2 situation we saw Tank move out. He knew that there were 3 heroes and he actually decided to go out anyways, was bursted down immediately. And that is the first kill in the game again by the Russian Circus, playing with that aggression.
Yeah, able to keep some good control there, and Chen even getting some ammo from the tower as well. Kira getting harassed, the global rotations coming in, Sir Ice Cream showing why globals are so important on this map, picking up the 2nd kill of the game and guaranteeing his team that bottom shrine. But top has been lost. Arcane once again rotating up to top lane to regain control.
I mean, at that point, I have to really say that the coordination that we see for the Russian Circus is very impressive. That's much better even than what we've seen or what the 2 of us have witnessed in scrims where they already looked strong, but currently they're really playing on point. I mean, in scrims, of course, you always want to test your boundaries also a bit and want to see what you can actually pull off. But so far, they're playing a very disciplined game here with a lot of good rotations. I like that a lot. Putting the pressure on with even getting the camp now. Arcane is actually really afraid to continue the own camp that he already started because he has no vision. So they needed to move back here. But that allows a lot of freedom on the map now for Team in Blue.
Indeed, working out very well for them. We're seeing Neon and Mopsio heading back down to the bot lane, clearing up the minions. They appear to be doing a bit of a rotation right now. 3 versus 3 in this bot lane, about to be 4 versus 3 if Falstad flies down. But remember, Dahaka can burrow as well. Both players waiting out their time. Power of Dream has gone for the Ring of Fire on his level 4 here, as he does want to control the lane, basically. Ring of Fire and the Brewmaster's Balance gives you almost the maximum amount of lane control, or at least sustain and wave clear in lane. But there are other talents which are potentially better for fighting heroes.
Yeah, nice trap. Yeah, well done so far. Good dodge on the side of Danatan. He's going to survive. But the Ice Cream puts a lot of pressure on already. Hammer gains as a level 4 talent, so really trying to capitalize on the damage he can put out with the Seasoned Marksman. He's going to get a lot of additional momentum in the later stage of the game if he comes to that. But for now, Neon is in trouble. Nice move by Mopsio, saving Neon and giving them a kill. The Haka moved into the Condemn. So he gets that kill down here, and Neon is able to make it out. Very impressive here once again. The coordination is on point.
Yeah, they're staying alive in situations they really shouldn't. Sevcar even able to drop a good amount of damage onto Hurricane here, who once again has to Haunting Wave out of this bottom objective. But level 7 talents available for both teams. Neon on point already at the Dragon Knight, able to grab the first one of the game for the Russian Circus. Thrall had attempted to run up to top to delay it, but was easily too late.
Yeah, with the level 7 talents, we have the cooldown reduction for Johanna with the Blessed Momentum. We're seeing the follow-through on Thrall, and again the Death Dealer for Kieva's Vala, who has in the last game also taken quite a few auto-attack talents later on 16 and 20. Besides that, with a bit of fight down at the bot lane, so Ice Cream headed into the Boomerang, going not for Secret Weapon. He plays that hybrid build that allows him to still burst waves away quite easily. A level lead for the Russian Circus, also giving them a bit of an advantage. So far, pretty solid performance. And that Dragonite is still getting a little bit of value. It's an early one, didn't scale it highly, but they got the wall at the top lane now too.
Yeah, they'll get 2 towers and the wall as well, thanks to the minions doing that little bit of extra damage. And Power of Dream continuing to stay in that top lane, grabbing XP for his team. Bot lane also was pressured a bit. A tower was acquired, but the defense was still reasonable here. Unstable, thinking about the Merc camp, but Mopsio showing that Russian aggression, going to just show here, and that is enough to push away BeGenius.
And keeps the aggro as well. They have level 10, so they're saying, like, we dare you, try and contest it. We have heroics, you don't. And therefore, an easy pick here. We have Storm, Earth and Fire picked up on the side of Chen as they're defending. And again, the Twilight Dream from Malfurion as another wall falls at the bottom of the map.
Yeah, we're still only on level 9 for BeGenius here. They want to try and raise the 10 as quick as possible. Dahaka is going to attempt to get that for them by soaking in that mid lane. But Russian Circus using their advantage, using their pressure on the map to guarantee that bottom bruiser as well. The Siege Giants have already been cleared up, but we're going to see Neon and Sevcar and Mopsio push in here. The Blessed Shield misses, but the idea here is they want to keep the pressure on, because otherwise this bruiser camp is going to get no value because of Sylvanas. But because the Blessed Shield didn't land, they just have to let it go. The camp just won't get value, but they do still get the XP from it.
A bit too aggressive here. Power of Dream at the top lane, especially thanks to the Ring of Fire, is single-handedly dealing with that wave. Shrines are activating again, and more camps have been taken in the meantime by the Russian Circus. It's 10 versus 10 now. We see again the adaptation taken on the side of the Haka. We have the Earthquake. Only Vala hasn't made a choice yet, but goes into Strafe in this particular setup right now. So both of the teams with their rogue abilities. We're still seeing the Ice Cream stack, but he's on foresight by now on 18 bonus damage, now that we are 7 minutes into the game. And of course with the Shrines being active, Chen already taking position up to the top at the Sunshine.
Yeah, and Chen, once again, trying to sustain himself through that. He does, of course, have that Storm of Fire to get himself out of there so he doesn't get picked off if we see Dahaka attempt to go aggressive. And with that just Ring of Fire, he's just able to sustain the lane. The Blind Blessed Shield onto Thrall here. Cleanse is dropped, and Thrall able to pull out there, but that was aggressive.
As advertised.
As advertised, as seen on TV.
Top lane, by the way. Value Town is right there. Power of Dream is pushing that in even farther. At the bot lane, on the other hand, yep, there comes the fly in, so Ice Cream goes very deep for this one. Barely escapes. Earthquake is on the ground as falls and is starting to get punished, but we see Rhaegar fall. So Ice Cream dies to the strafe. Super aggressive move by the Russian Circus. Way too far out there, in my opinion. Not really necessary to take that much of a risk. It was a high risk, high reward play that I don't think they have to go for.
Yeah, big apologies for my language there. That caught me very off guard. But they, once again, like you said, they went a bit too aggressive. 2 kills for 1 in favor of BeGenius in this case. And we already see Rhaegar on his way back, where, as Paul said, he will have fly very soon in 2 seconds, so he'll be able to fly back and assist very soon, very quickly. Power of Dream attempting to get his team even in terms of those kills, and they do. They pick up Kiara with the prevention of the rotation. They one tag for the win too. The body block's coming in, but the cleanse, too good, prevents the slow from Dana.
Rhaegar was so close to saving Vala, but he was just a step behind. He died earlier, of course, with that engage. But very interesting that Russian Circus... I mean, I can understand if you're behind that you feel the pressure to make a play like this. But being ahead, they just could have focused on decent plays. 7 hit points as the ice block is being used. But Malfurion is only delaying the inevitable. He falls, and both of the teams now on level 13 talents, with Burning Rage being picked up by Johanna. We see the pressure points, a bit of a playmaker ability for Chen himself now. And a talent that personally always baffles me a little bit with the auto attack build, the Flow Rider. In this case, not as much as against heroes like Muradin and other high hit point tanks, since we have only Dehaka and Thrall on the opponent's side, so Giant Killer wouldn't get as much value. But we will see him throw out a few more of those additional, just not Storm Bolts, but Hammerangs in the game.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It does confuse me a little bit as well. Like, if you were running the secret weapon, yes, you're going to get more attack damage in this case. But otherwise, it seems to only be for wave clear, just to get that extra boomerang out. Right now, both shrines controlled by BeGenius. Dehaka going to attempt to do something in the top lane, continue pushing that up. But bot shrine has already been taken back by the Russian Circus, and Johanna was already positioned to prevent the BK going over.
Yeah, nice Gust. Once again, Sefkash in a bit of trouble. Use the Iceberg and good fraying of Frost. But is it enough damage? They're trying to go for unstable. He's so close to dying. The Panda Pals are in play. We have the ult going out. He goes straight for the Ancestral, saving them before he dies. But this time, once again, a triple kill against the Russian Circus here. Power of Dream moving away. Mopsio on the run too. They're trying to make sure that he is going to fall too. But this is going to be a Dragon Knight on the side of Team in Red.
Yeah, that, like you said, that was a beautiful Ring of Frost that sort of prevented a huge amount of extra damage coming in from BeGenius, but the rotation's just too good there. And we're finally seeing BeGenius taking more control in this game. Their first Dragon Knight, and they're going to easily push in this mid lane.
Now there's a couple of things, of course, that we can still talk about here, especially with that fight, but currently at the top lane we see Chen still getting a bit of counter value. He's trying to make sure that they at least get the fort here. That would be a lot of extra experience for them. Besides that, the mid lane is still being assailed by the Dragon Knight, and BeGenius is going to get the fort. The question is, how much more can they take down with the Dragon Knight? 30 seconds remain.
We will see. They're pushing in. 16 available for both teams right now, so once that Dragon Knight pops, we will see an even talent fight. Oh, Chen very aggressively forward. He wants to try and catch someone. He kicks over Tank for the win. Looks like he may have wanted to drop the slow here, but instead just puts himself in a safer position so he doesn't get caught out here. And that's forced the Dragon Knight all the way back to his own lane, to his own side of the map to help clear the lanes to make sure that he can get out and doesn't get picked off. He's going to be back to base, which is weird considering he's completely full health and mana.
I mean, he can always... I think he wants to defend the top lane and then push
exactly.
Straka in. Didn't want to waste the cooldown, I assume. But the camp is taken out the bot lane. Yeah, now with the cooldown still available, he can actually help out if there is a fight down here. Manticore, here comes the Earthquake already being used. They're going straight for the potential kill. The Ancestor is coming through and saving, in this case, Jaina for just a moment. Sylvanas actually, she dies. Her Ice Cream is also dead. It's a double kill against the French team, though, as we're seeing Rhaegar fall, and that's the support gone. Sefkash himself is in trouble and dies too. A 3-4-3 as they're focusing down Thrall. Thrall is about to die, but we see also, again, Mopsio in trouble. He's so close to falling. Danatar once him, heals himself with the Essence. 4 kills against 3 just now. A massive team fight at the bottom, and the camp was actually claimed by the Russian team.
Yeah, now we see the slowest fight of all time, the tank fight, where both teams' tanks attempting to get through. Finally, the 2v1 goes in favor of Russian Circus. They're able to push through, and now they're going to start pressuring this bottom 4, using Power of Dream's Brew to tank through it, and of course the Ring of Fire to do that little bit of extra damage. It's going to take a while, but they are going to get it.
That tap down there, this is like everybody dying. It's like we have 2 heroes in the game, by the way, that haven't fallen yet, and that's the 2 tanks for Russian Circus, Power of Dream and Mopsio. Those are the 2 that don't have a single death yet in the game. Everybody else died at least once. Sefkash currently with 4 deaths on Malfurion. 11 versus 9 overall on the board. Keeping track of the stacks, by the way, we have 30 damage on the Ice Cream now, so his stacking process slowed down considerably, but he's still able to put that pressure play out there, and he will definitely get a lot of momentum later on. Silence, of course, on the side of Sylvanas is also super strong here, as we see Power of Dream jumping in again. Storm, Earth and Fire is going to be ready soon, but look at Sefkash. He's immediately being tagged by Thrall and barely escapes as the fight still rages on.
Yeah, but that means that Sefka has been hugely zoned out. As such, Jaina falls. Dream barely saves himself with the Storm by Fire there. He's able to pull back, but that's still 2 kills for 0. That zoning that Tank for the Win did onto the Malfurion just completely killed off Jaina, as there's no sustain she could get there. And incredible play from BeGenius, taking great control of this game. They get the top shrine, and now they're going to use Sylvanas to push in this top lane with their Bruiser camp.
It was actually very, very good what he did there. Thrall moving in with that Earthquake, and as you said, like Malfurion had no chance. He tried to escape there and moved away and barely saved himself, but with him being pushed this far back, there were no heals, there was no silence. They missed crucial crucial abilities in that game or in that fight, and now there's even more pressure on Johanna, who's desperately trying to prevent the Dragonite from being captured. But I think the chance of that happening are slim to none, and there it is, misses the shield glare, tank for the win takes it. They wouldn't have been able to save it either way, in my opinion. That would have gone over to BeGenius eventually. Now it's 19 versus 19, but we're still in a situation, 15 minutes into the game, where keeps are not even being threatened.
Yeah, there's no keeps really being pressured on either team, but we're going to see BeGenius attempt to change that right now. There's the punch onto Jalen, and they immediately turn it onto the tank's fire. Not a huge amount of damage, but it's enough to kill off that fort. Now the question is, how much further do they want to go? Heroics are now all available, so Thrall will have Earthquake when he pops out of that Dragonite. The only thing that's not available is the Storm Earth Fire for Chen here. And thank for the win. Getting poked down by Jada. He's just harassing at the moment. Single auto attack, single fire breaths. Not going to put himself in a position where he's going to die if that Dragonite pops.
Yeah, top lane, that's where we still see Johanna. Tank for the win down here is going to take a little bit more damage, but the keep is going to be safe. He's not going to be able to make a play there. The Haka is also trying to pressure the lanes a bit and make sure that he pushes them back after Johanna pushed them out. Level 20 gives us, and this is just such a fantastic talent if you go Earthquake. If you have Earthen Shields, it's insane the sustain that you gain out of this. And we also have Storm Shields in. We have once again Rancor for Vala, so even more auto attack damage, as we see the 20s pop for the Russian Circus as well, which in particular now, of course, gives us even more survivability on their part.
Yeah, Urban Shields, Hardened Shield, and Storm Shields. They're only short one type of shield, and that's Indestructible, because Johanna is on the other team. We're going to see Sylvanas and Valis start that bottom camp, but they are scouted out, and as such, Thrall in a lot of danger here, but he's able to take down Falstad before he's taken down too, and the Ring of Frost is on point.
The Ring of Frost is great, but we have once again Storm Earth and Fire coming into play as the second hero on the side of the Russian Circus. Falls Arcane with the camp. Danatan goes in again, and it's the end of Chen. This is the French team going ham here. They move in and try to take down Mopsio or Neon. Both of them would be great. They have a double camp pushing through the bot lane. There comes another slow as Unstable goes in with the totem, but it feels like this is going to end in a keep falling at the bot lane. Look what a fantastic wave and double camp are pushing in here. Together with Sylvanas, there's no way of saving it.
Dana once again dropping in any extra damage to try and clear this lane as quick as possible, because like you said, the keep is forfeit, but they can at least protect the core, even with just two heroes. The first time Chen has died, Mopsio still yet to die in this fight. Danatan looking to try and change that, and they go very aggressive. Indestructible still available. Mopsio gets the shield and pulls himself back to his safer position. He can now beat back and get all his health, but a second keep is going to fall for that.
The French team showing their class this game, and it's actually very impressive that they were able to come back into this, considering how well the early game went for the Russian Circus. Was pretty decent there, but at this point they are the ones that have taken down two keeps, and again the Dragon Knight will appear in another 4 seconds, so we are going to see a play for that. 42 stacks, by the way, on the side of Sir Ice Cream, starting to really get some extra damage in with the auto attacks, but didn't really have the impact on the game yet that he was hoping for. Russian Circus needs to win a team fight, and so far in most of the big battles they haven't really looked too great, especially since they couldn't even kill Thrall in the last one.
Yeah, Thrall was able to survive for a very long time, killing off Falstad before he himself was taken out by Jada, but just the amount of sustain he gets, and a huge amount of that is due to his new Earthquake, and people are still asking questions about that a fair amount. The reason it's being picked so often now is one, because the stun on Angle going on to Johanna here. They've dragged Chen. Chen is unstoppable now. Get off his Pandapows here. He's going to go in. Wow, Rhaegar taken out, and this is what we could expect from Russian Circus.
What did we say? They need to win a team fight, and they're doing that just now. As you said, Thrall, he died eventually in the last fight, but this time he died before he could use the Earthquake, and that was a big, big problem for them. Great kills here for the Russian Circus. Falstad flying in and completely wrecking them was so important. That's going to be a Dragonite. Very well done here. 3 kills against 0. The Russian Circus with a 1-0 lead in the best of 5 series already, and they are pushing through the mid lane now, marching straight towards the bottom of the map. They want to take a keep. They want to get some counter pressure. Falstad is back, and is now flying back in. He has, of course, the Epic Mount that allows him a lot of mobility on the map. Needed to push some of the lanes out. They go through the side. They want to go core, apparently.
They do want to. There's still 20 seconds left for Dahaka. What I was saying on Thrall earlier is now that his Earthquake does damage, it procs his Frostball Resilience, but he wasn't able to get it off in the last fight. He is going to be back in time to at least try to defend, but it's way too late at this point. The Mighty Gust used onto Sylvanas, and that is GG. Russian Circus taking game number 2.
Game number 3 on Cursed Hollow. The Russian Circus going up against BeGenius, ladies and gentlemen, now. And so far we had a 2-0 lead in the best of 5 series. Great play by both teams, actually. But the Russian Circus, after the last team fight on Dragonshire, turning it around, going straight for core, taking the game. And now they need to win one of the potential next 3 maps to make it into the league in 2017. Dahaka, I said it already in the draft for game number 2, we could see him banned at some point, and this is exactly what happens. The Russian Circus is just saying, like, yeah, we're gonna get that out there, you're not gonna get Dahaka, take your Malfurion, like, we are happy with that, but Dahaka is not gonna make it into this one.
Yeah, both teams tired of dealing with that huge global presence and wave clear, so he is removed. Whereas BeGenius banning out the ETC, looks like they wanted the Dahaka. That's what they've done every game so far, ban out the ETC and then pick up Dahaka to try and tank choke out their opponents. But this time, Russian Circus not having it, and BeGenius getting the priority on Malfurion instead.
And now, of course, the question, how is Zarya gonna fit into the draft? BeGenius really loves to play her. Russian Circus could try and pick her away here, or see if BeGenius is forcing a different priority, since of course with Malfurion on this map you have a lot of other heroes that you would like to get. We're talking Vala, we're talking Li Ming, heroes that can interrupt. Tyke is taken away, Thrall also claimed, so this time Russian Circus relying or trying to rely on the Earthquake here. And eliminating a couple of the options that BeGenius was using in the last few games. But it wouldn't really shock me too much if we would see a Zarya together with a damage dealer for BeGenius. It seems to be like right down their alley to go into those comfort drafts early on.
Yeah, they know what they like and they know when to pick it, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see that either. And picking up the Zarya would deny it over to Russian Circus, because it would combo very, very well with the Thrall that they already have there. So it would just be solid for them. There's that Valor, potential range damage dealer you were talking about. And the question is, are they going to pick the Zarya with it, or even will they lock in the Valor? Last time they were thinking about it, they were hovering between Valor and Tychus. So right now it seems to be more of a case of, do they want Valor or Li Ming? Both work very well with Malphir. And Tyrael not going for the Zarya. Tyrael or Muradin for them.
Tyrael, I would not mind that. I mean, it allows them completely different combos that we had so far. They can simply add a second frontliner if they want to. They can add a melee assassin to that combo. Have a bit more of a snowbally draft here. But yes, they go for the Tyrael. So he gains value after level 16, especially since he can steal camps away and can has a lot of zoning power. And the Russian Circus is actually afraid that there might be a bit of a focus on the melee assassin. They ban out Abathar, who has also the soak potential. Away from tributes, from bosses on the offlane. So yeah, both of the teams again really thinking about what they want to avoid playing against here.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. The Abathar ban, like you said, this is very showy of a potential melee assassin by BeGenius, so it's a solid ban by Russian Circus here. BeGenius, like we said, they want to try and tank choke here. They've already banned out ETC. If they ban out Muradin or Johanna here, then Russian Circus are forced to take what is left, as they already banned out Dahaka. So good job with BeGenius just trying to once again choke out Russian Circus, but they've done this every draft so far and it hasn't worked out for them. So it looks like they may actually avoid it and just let them have what they want and try and limit their support options instead.
I actually think that the whole notion of really choking someone out these days is not working anymore properly. It worked when we had less heroes in the pool. Right now, you can, of course, like try to just deny a couple of specific heroes to an opponent. But especially with the newly found priority on Dahaka, on Johanna, I think Warrior choke is basically non-existent anymore. And if you look at the support role, we are in a similar situation. Of course, if you know that your opponent only plays a certain range of tanks or supports, then you can still make that work. But right now, BeGenius, they ban out Muradin, Johanna has been picked up. Considering how much Russian Circus prioritized Johanna, that doesn't shock them too much. They would have been happy with the Muradin too, I feel. Just adapt a little bit. But yeah, so it's just like the question, do you want to deal with the stuns on Muradin or not? And right now, they just say like Muradin, he is too tanky, too heavy there, has the engage tool, the gap closer. Johanna, on the other hand, has to rely on her heroic ability if she really wants to do that outside of the condemn. So yeah, the Vala being picked up for them now. Good backline damage. Nothing to be said about that. It surprises me that we didn't see Falstad yet, to be honest with you. On this map, he gains a lot of value. So a bit of a surprised personally that Falstad has not made it into the draft yet, neither as a Bayanoa pick.
That could still be picked up for BeGenius right now. If they wanted to run Tyrael, they could still pick up a second tank in there, so they can do it well, or still run a melee if they really want to go for that style and still get the global potential with the Falstad. They're hovering over it right now. They do lock it in, deciding that, yep, they do want that global potential, or they do want that huge utility. Now the question is it a potential second tank / bruiser? Is it a melee assassin coming in for BeGenius as their last pick, or do they want to go for something completely different?
I mean, what could you pick there? There's a lot of bans that we already come in, and a lot of heroes that we usually see at the side of the Tyrael, which are not really an option any longer. And Illidan has found his way into the place quite a bit. Zeratul, I would like the Greymane more than a Zeratul, I have to admit. I think Zeratul is incredibly powerful and strong right now, and I love seeing him in drafts. I just don't believe that he fits the comp as nicely as Greymane does. So I like that choice here, if we look on those two. So you have a hero that can engage onto the front line, that has a huge burst potential to jump on the backline hero. Tyrael finds himself more or less alone at the front, so he has to be a bit careful with the play here. But as long as Greymane, as long as they pick their fights wisely and start to jump deep, they can make huge plays here.
Yep, completely agree. The Greymane can work well as long as it's not counterplayed efficiently by the Johanna. That could completely shut it down. But this does give BeGenius a lot of core opportunity as well. There's been a lot of opportunities where they thought about going for core and then changed their mind. Greymane gives them a lot more potential for that, as he has the highest damage per second onto a core out of any hero.
Yeah, the Russian Circus with a heal. Brightwing is still available, so that would be a good one. They have the Oriel, and they decide actually in favor of Rega here, so they give up a bit of global presence that they could have. Decide against that in favor of a Rega, which will once again supply the Thrall also with the Lightning Shield and has the Ancestral. Going for the panic button here, dropping the Ancestral and maybe even trying to get some synergy with the slows here. But yeah, overall, solid drafts for both of the teams here. The Rega definitely also a bit of a comfort pick right now, considering what else was still on the board. Sefkash has been playing a lot of Oriel. In this case, he decides against it, even though they have a Vala and a Tychus, which work quite well with her. Cursed Hollow. It could be the last map, and let's jump into the game and see if BeGenius can start a bit of a comeback here for themselves, or if the Russian Circus takes the third map as well and qualifies for the HGC 2017. Game number 3, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Russian Circus in a 2-0 lead here in the best of 5 series. It is the semi-final, our first one of the day here at the second qualifier for the HGC 2017 Europe. To the left side, Mopsio again on the Johanna. We see Power of Dream this time on Thrall, Sir Ice Cream on the Tychus, and Neon on Vala. Sefkaje as the healer of the team is currently playing Rega, and the French team starting towards the right side of Cursed Hollow is currently playing with Tank for the win on Greymane. We have Unstable on Malfurion, Danantan on Tyrael, Arcane on Falstad, and Kirva this time playing the Liming, not going for the auto attacker. This is of course a really important game for BeGenius. They need to win 3 in a row if they want to make it into the league for 2017 right away. So far they've been losing these games, even though oftentimes it looked extremely close. And let's see what they can pull off this time. Going into a double block actually on the side of the Russian Circus here.
Yeah, the reinforce for Johanna, her particular version of block and the normal block for the role, helping protect against that Greymane, who is going to be the main source of burst damage. So those little blocks just going to help protect against the initial damage from Greymane as much as possible, but they still have to worry about the Falstad and the Liming, who are going to do a fair amount of ability damage.
Now, the last time that we saw BeGenius play here, they actually went through the bot lane immediately, and the opponent took the top. It was against Team Liquid. It seems very much like we're going to see a similar setup here again. Both teams just pushing the lanes, and let's see how far they go this time. Are we going to see the fort fall, or are they stopping after the wall?
This time we did see Johanna attempt to rotate down to bot to slow this down a bit, but she didn't really achieve much. She is still able to get all her XP in mid though. That is fine, but this time, not going to see the forts dying this early. Instead, it is just rotations. We're seeing a lot of pressure going onto Mopsio here, but another attempt at a tower coming in for BeGenius. Trying to burst them down as quick as possible. Kira doing the classic Li Ming poke all your buildings with all my spells. Despite it being nerfed, it's still down.
Yeah, it's still good, and as you can see, it's also much faster when we're talking about building destruction for BeGenius. So they're getting a slight lead in structures thanks to that. They just burst these waves away super quick right now. And on level 1, by the way, the power hungry taken. We have also now the press the advantage. 4 talents are coming in. Slight lead, of course, in experience for the French team. Nothing too crazy just yet. But now 2 minutes into the game, we see Rega immediately aiming for the first Siege Giant camp. The reasoning behind it is, of course, that you hope for the tribute to spawn at the bot lane, and then you get a bit more value out of the first one. Same thought process for BeGenius as they're attempting to go for their own Siege Giant camp towards the right.
Yeah, both teams sending heroes over there to grab that. Let's see where it is. It's the bot lane, so an advantage there coming in for Russian Circus. That's ideal for them right now, but that is slightly counteracted by the fact that BeGenius have Falstad. They send him up to the top lane, Tyrael rotating down to this objective. He's going to be late, but they have Malfurion, they have Li Ming, they have a huge amount of delay tactics.
Yeah, already a bit of delay happening, but nice zoning here. Okay, Power of Dream gets hit again, but they really start to pressure Kiev. Very low as is, and Malfurion too. But we have now also Tank or the Win coming in as Falstad deals with the top lane. Bit of pressure is still happening. They're fighting for it. They're actually committing a lot here, and Falstad will have to fly down.
Yeah, he has to fly down if he wants to contest it. Looks like they may just let it go thanks to the magic missiles from Li Ming not hitting. And they, in fact, do. Greymane was also not able to stay any longer. He was separated from his team, and he was revealed, his Ice in the Dark, only getting a couple seconds of activation off, but then he was revealed from his stealth thanks to the Hungering Arrow bounce that followed him all the way through his roll. And that thing can see through stealth, and it will find you. It will get you.
Top lane, so Ice Cream is just barely preventing the tower from falling and forcing our Arcane back. He decided to not fly to the bot lane since he still had to deal with those Siege Giants. Camps are still taken on both sides, so both of them have the same thought process here, heading straight for the Night Camp and trying to take that. Very even experience right now. The only real advantage that we have for one of the teams is that earlier tribute that was taken by the Russian Circus.
Yeah, and Russian Circus attempting to get as much value out of their slight little lead as possible with their mercenary camps, with their rotations, but we are seeing a little bit more aggression thanks to their XP lead coming out of BeGenius. They were trying to pressure up the top, but Tyker's playing too safe. Now they're taking a long rotation. Greymane and Malfurion looking to maybe try and grab someone in the mid lane. Leon is here, and he might be the perfect target, but Tank for the Win is revealed unstable, dropping some mana onto Damatat. And the objective, spawning in the bot lane with the Bruiser Cap still mostly alive for Russian Circus. That's a big deal.
Yeah, Cleanse is also available on both sides right now to counteract some of these stuns, but as you said, the Bruiser camp is still nearly alive completely, and that is a problem. Falstad flies down, they're still fighting. Time is currently in favor of the Russian Circus. They're going to get some value here. Danatan already very low. We have seen the Iron Skin on the side of Mopsio. He had to pop his trade, but we still see them zoning the tribute, and so Ice Cream is getting solid damage against Danatan, who's really struggling to keep himself on a decent hit point amount on Tyrael.
Yes, sir. Ice Cream really living up to the name of his talent, pressing the advantage, pushing in here, trying to grab something. Leon getting burst out. Greymane trying to kill him, but the blind prevents the kill there. And we do see Li Ming fall instead. Leon survives. He pulls back. He's not going to try and sneak the tribute because Araket could sneak him out. But another kill. Greymane going down. They're also low. Araket attempting to capitalize. He was nearly going to go for 2 there, but he does get a kill. Leon sneaks the tribute. And now if Sevka can get out, this still goes in the favor of the Russian Circus. And they do 2 kills and a tribute for 1 kill.
Neon getting out of that just blows my mind. He was so close to dying. And he was in the middle of them. He gets out, as you said, there's the blind coming in play with the shield flare, but also we saw that just clutch heal that Rega was able to provide. Really well done. 2 tributes against 0 at this point, and a play for boss. The experience lead actually goes, at least for now, to the red team, to the French team. We have BeGenius with a slightly faster level 9, but as you can see here, it's still 2 tributes against 0, and maybe more importantly, they really were able to drain a lot of the ammunition in the mid lane, also thanks to the camp.
New talents for us to talk about at level 7, yep. Angel's Grace on the Tyrael, that 40% movement speed, giving him that dive potential or that escape potential. We don't usually see this, but it's still very unique. Combining that with the Holy Ground, definitely a Q-based build at the moment for Tyrael.
Top lane is being assailed. There's only one hero defending at the bottom of the map, but they have a Siege Giant camp that's going to help them with it. The top lane is being attacked. Mobsu actually double-checked the boss too. They didn't have vision of the opponent, and they were just trying to find out if there's maybe a play for boss. Falstad leaves the boss alone, starts to make his way to the top, has defended a fair amount already as is, and it's an early boss, so it's rather low. But look, the level 10s, they could come into play, but the curse hits them, and is hitting them hard as the boss is still alive for a few seconds, but thanks to the Siege Giants, it doesn't matter, it's taken out.
Yeah, Araken attempted to delay that with his Q, but he was just out of range. Not able to delay this. Danatan now chasing forward, using that extra movement speed he gets from the Angel's Grace, trying to chase someone down. Despite Red Team being cursed, they still want to try and get anything out of this. But let's see how much Russian Circus can get out of this. They're beginning to split up. No, they're going to regroup in the mid lane. There are 2 heroes here ready to defend this. Falstad being left top lane. Greymane going to rotate down to help his team defend mid.
They could chase a little bit longer, simply because that Siege Giant camp at the bot lane was preventing the worst, but now the Siege Giant camp is eliminated and the curse is gaining value at the bottom of the map. In the mid lane, on the other hand, a 5-man push, now that level 10 abilities are ready for both of the teams. Earthquake, the drill are in play and could be used anytime if there's a solid engagement happening, but Falstad at the top lane is more or less guaranteeing that we're not going to see a team fight just yet.
Yeah, they want to avoid that as much as possible. He's actually going to join up with his team by the looks of it, or start boss. They're gathering around that. Looks like Greymane and Falstad are going to attempt to sneak. Now Furion rotating up as well, but they are going to sacrifice a fort for this. We're going to see Russian Circus taking that down. Now the question is, are they going to rumble what's happening with the boss, and then are they going to react by trying to contest it? If so, they're far too late. Or are they going to push even further in the bot lane? Looks like bot lane is the option.
Bot lane it is, and that is going to force them back eventually. And if they take the boss, they will still lose at least one of the towers and a bit of this wall. So right now the boss has to be defended. It's only going up against Fort, but we still have a lead in experience, especially thanks to Falstad. Araken has been soaking the entire time during a lot of these fights. So even with all the structures taken down by the Russian Circus, BeGenius is still more in, like, they're completely in range. They are even a little bit ahead in experience, especially after this fort is about to fall.
Yeah, Falstad with 7,000 XP. Next highest is Johanna with 5,200. So Falstad just super keeping his team just a slight amount in the lead. But they so far haven't been able to capitalize on that. They've not been able to take fights when they have talent advantages. However, this could be their best opportunity, with the next tribute will be coming in a little bit. They may have 13 for it, and they may be able to capitalize on it, or at least put pressure onto the lanes and try and take a fight once they hit the level 13s, which they're attempting to get via the structures.
It's crazy. They actually got cursed. The curse got value. It's not like it didn't get anything done, but they still are behind in experience. So even though they didn't allow a single tribute for the opponent to be taken, they dropped 2 forts, they are still behind. So BeGenius does a much better job when it comes to lane soaking and just using that global that they have on Falstad. Very well done.
Yeah, we're seeing Valor attempting to change that though. She is currently split pushing the top lane, getting the XP from there. Falstad still just keeping that slightly for his team with the bot lane, but once again, level 13 available for BeGenius. No capitalization available. They can't do anything with it, and as such, we will see Russian Circus creep their way to a level 13 talent as well, and bring it back to equal talents, meaning that they can take fights again.
It's true, but there's a dangerous part to this, because with all these structures still on the board, if you consider that BeGenius is actually ahead in experience, if they get a bit, or if they, for example, get a curse onto the blue team, or they win a team fight, and they start taking these structures down, the experience gain they're gonna get through that is insane. It's not gonna happen though if things like this happen. No sanctification could be used there. Completely stunned out by Johanna. Didn't drop the sank, died, and that's another tribute. But the argument still stands. Win a big fight, get a curse onto the Russian Circus, and if you start taking down these forts, the experience gain that you're gonna get through that is gonna catapult you forward like crazy.
Yeah, but winning a fight is something right now that BeGenius don't really have the option to do. They've lost every single fight so far and every single objective, and they're only winning thanks to just superior lane control. But that can only last so long. With Bot Boss now respawning, we're going to see Russian Circus attempt to gain advantage. They're a level down, and they're playing aggressive, just due to the fact that Tyrael wasn't alive at this point.
Tyrael is starting to come back in though, and especially after 16 he's going to try and make some plays by isolating heroes thanks to the holy ground. Tribute is spawning up at the top. And the position is, this time, much, much better for BeGenius. And it's a boss play instead. It looks like the Russian Circus was really thinking about going for boss instead of heading for the tribute. Falstad is getting the tribute, and the rest is now trying to force a fight.
First tribute of their game for BeGenius at this point, and they were able to prevent Russian Circus from sneaking a boss while they were grabbing it. So good job by them, finally starting to show some control on the map and show some initiative here. So good job by them. And Arakin continuing to soak lanes here, rushing them to 15. And then if they can get their 16, like I said, Holy Ground is going to give a huge amount of play potential over to BeGenius. But Tank for the win, going to prevent anything happening with that for the moment, getting taken down.
Going full Chinese meta here against them. The entire time just traps set up in bushes and they walk into them. And that was 2 cooldowns that they just dropped. They were totally willing to sacrifice Earthquake and the Stray for it. And they're saying like, yep, we're going to take the boss right now. Falstad is continuing to push the top lane. There's no reason for him so far to really move down. Couldn't have done anything to save Greymane. He's just trying to go through that wall, get some value on the keep. And they are closing in on level 16. They are getting farther and farther ahead in experience. And someone has eventually to go back to deal with Arcane. He's going go for keep if they don't do something here.
Yeah, he's still going. He's still pushing. No one has beat back yet. He's just going to barrel roll out and fly away. He's right next to this tribute. He can just grab that. He still has his take flight. So he can just grab that if no one reacts quick enough. But no, he beat back thinking that there was going to be a push. And also to help defend the boss. So once again, another tribute will go to Russian Circus here. And they can use that time to push the top lane as well, because that's still pushed up to keep.
I don't even understand why he went back. I don't get it, because if he doesn't have vision, then yes, he is probably frightened that he's being attacked and dropped. But he had vision of everybody, if I'm not mistaken. There was a 4-man showing at the bot lane.
Thrall was heading up to the tribute.
Thrall was mid lane at the moment when he moved back, so he could have bursted another wave down. He could have taken another wave, pushed it in a little bit farther, and still escaped quite easily here. Was a bit afraid there, but I don't really think he necessarily needed to do that. Anyways, he reached his goal. They have 16, they still have a lead. They are still ahead in experience. And now they have 16 talents, and that's a bit of a game changer here too, because Holy Ground will have a massive impact on this.
Yeah, Holy Ground could be a big deal, and this is the perfect opportunity to show it off around a boss. But Russian Circus in a better position here, as they have all 5 heroes preventing this boss, while Falstad was continuing to do Falstad things and push this bottom lane. But with the tribute up, Russian Circus know that this could mean a curse for them, so they're going to move in and attempt to gain control of that. Mobzio aggressively positioned to try and zone heroes out, Neon dodging out that arcane orb.
Yeah. In this situation, the comp that we see for Russian Circus is so much better. Immediately the Earthquake. They have so much potential. The grenade alone can wreck them at this point. The silence is in, but does it really do enough? It doesn't look like it. Malfurion is in trouble already, using the Ice Block and is dying immediately as we're all of a sudden seeing Greymane jumping and going for the kill, taking down Bala, taking down Rhaegar. It's a double kill, and Power of Dream is falling too. They finally get the momentum they were hoping for and grab tribute number 2.
Yeah, and they want to get Mobzio, also Ice Cream as well. So Ice Cream sustaining through. They're able to take down Falstad. Attack for the win. Did he go too deep here? He's pulling back away to Kira here. And they're still going to attempt to take down Mobzio. They will get him here eventually. Mobzio, please. There we go. He finally goes down. And once again, BeGenius able to take a fight using a bit of a snowball there, thanks to that Greymane. Nicely done. And Greymane able to keep himself alive thanks to his on the Prowl talent, giving himself that extra movement speed, and even able to get extra damage out thanks to Eager Wolf on level 16, increasing his attack speed even in human form, so he was able to just drop even more damage onto his targets.
Jumping in there was just like so good. They finally get some of that momentum going that they were hoping for so long, so they got an entire team wipe off, and they get the boss now. But still, we have a camp pushing through the mid lane. They have lost a lot so far, but they have the level lead, and a quite impressive one at that. We've been talking about all that soaking that Falstad has been doing throughout the game, and he is currently just trying to make sure that they're headed faster and faster into level 20 when they can start to make some plays. And just simply from a poke perspective, the setup that we have for the Russian Circus is just like so much better with the Vala and also with the grenade being dropped. So it's a very careful game that BeGenius still has to fight here. This is a curse tribute one way or another.
Yeah, both teams will get a curse. Danatan, 2 making himself away there to safety. And now he's in a good position to try and wrap around behind. He has Sank again, wants to try and holy ground some heroes away. He prevents their escape now. Can they make an engagement out of this? Trying to get some damage onto Neon. The Earthquake is dropped. Here comes the Strafe. Dropping damage. They can kill Altero before the Sank, and they do!
And they also go for tank for the win again. Tyrael is already down. They want another kill. They go for unstable. He drops the silence, but it's already too late. He falls. They probably won't be able to chase over here. Li Ming is also escaping. The boss has taken the keep in the meantime. This entire fight, of course, was still overshadowed by the boss pushing lane. Now we have Sevkaja extremely low, but taking the tribute. The curse is there. Boss is going for core, but will eventually be shut down by it. They're trying to at least get some counter pressure and value going since they want to go for the keep themselves. Level 20 is so close, by the way, for the French team at this point.
Li Ming, though, is making this very difficult. Look at the amount of harass he's doing. Sevka having a hugely rough time. They're trying to get the keep, but the health they're taking is very, very high. Kira doing an insane job. Takes a big grenade, though. That boss did some crazy damage to the core. The keep finally dropped, evening up the keep count. But Russian Circus only barely getting value out of this for the moment, and with now all the heroes about to be alive on the side of BeGenius, this push is going to be pretty much shut down.
They need 20 and they need it soon because it's ready for the French team and they are trying, of course, to chase. They're going in. Nice move by Kirva here, using his wave of force to deposition Mopsio, and that is going to result in a kill. Great ult use from Li Ming. Very well done here. Going for the repulsion immediately, using it, dropping it on Johanna, pushing her back and taking Mopsio out.
Yeah, and they're even going to use Greymane here to scout out that boss, make sure it wasn't being snuck away by Russian Circus. And now they're going to take it for themselves. Actually, if they're doing this, they may lose this keep in the bot lane. Minion's doing an insane job down there.
Yeah, but it looks like it's just barely not going to happen. Oh, close call though. But the boss is now taken.
Yeah, boss is taken. That's going to start pressuring the bot lane, and we're going to see BeGenius going with it. They want to try and get this, while Russian Circus taking the time to grab the Sea Giants in the top lane. A couple players being back. It is only just about a similar time for walking.
I mean, the keep is gonna fall. The only question is, do you get core or don't you? Earthquake is ready. They need to make sure the defense is strong now. This is not gonna be easy. Oh my god, 20 versus 20 is now ready. And that alone is already game changer with the Earth Shield and the Focus Sides in. Death Siphon is now in play as well. They move behind the boss. They go behind the boss. They're trying to go for the kills, but they immediately disengage. Great play here. Making sure that you push them out, that there's no chase happening. The boss is already being attacked by Tychus. It's rather low. The shields are being scratched. They're starting to move in. They want to scan down for the win is down. Graven goes down. The Sank is on the ground. They're just going for the core Tetcher.
The silence hit nothing through the Sank, and it's gonna be game, and we're gonna see BeGenius take game number 3, and we have a series on our hand, Khaldor.
Okay guys, game number 4, Infernal Shrines. BeGenius was able to win a map, so they just took the game on Cursed Hollow, and now we're having Infernal Shrines. The 2-1 lead for Russian Circus puts them still in a spot where if they win here, they are qualified for 2017 for Blizzard's League. But if BeGenius takes it, we're going to go the whole distance and going to play a 5th map. And Russian Circus, right off the bat, banning out the Zarya, respecting that and saying like, yep, we know you like to play that. We don't want you to have that massive sustain on Infernal Shrines with any kind of additional frontliner. So Infernal Shrines is the map, and that changes, of course, the pace of the game a little bit. But one still is true. Both of the teams would love to have a Dehaka, and it seems like BeGenius is not willing to give that up.
Yeah, I'm going to ban that out, get rid of that global presence. Despite their Zarya being banned away, they are perfectly happy just limiting themselves in tanks more. Russian Circus, though, going to capitalize on that, bring in a tank for themselves with the ETC. Now the question is, do BeGenius pick up a Muradin just to prevent themselves from getting their options severely limited in the next rotation by Russian Circus?
Another thing that we have to watch out for now is that Mopsio in particular has played some really good games on Johanna, I feel. The last few times I've seen him in previous tournaments, and again, that is a few weeks back even, seen him on ETC, that was a bit of one of his weaker heroes, where he tried to make plays, or he felt pressure too hard to make plays and engaged a bit too deep. That's one of the things that we definitely have to watch out for on this map right now, if he is on the ETC, which we can assume. But that's definitely something that we have to keep in mind while we're watching this. His Johanna plays so far were actually like very strong. I like that a lot. BeGenius then on the other hand with the Malfurion and the Tychus this time, so they are locking that down. And Russian Circus, we've been talking, especially throughout the first draft when it was banned out, a lot about Oriel as one of the comfort picks for Sefkaja. That could come into play, and yep, there it is, together with Avala even. So strong picks already early on for Russian Circus, really catering to a lot of the players that they have in their setup.
Indeed, very much making themselves comfortable, but this also gives them a huge amount of aggressive potential. Due to the fact they can afford to go aggressive, and if they get turned on, they have that panic button in the form of the Aegis. So we will keep an eye on that, see how well they're able to do with it. And BeGenius, what kind of bans are they going to go for? It's fairly safe to assume Russian Circus are going to ban out some kind of tank, whether it's going to be Muradin or Johanna, depending on which one they would prefer BeGenius not to have. Whereas BeGenius banning some more range damage in the form of Gul'dan, a hero that Malfurion struggles to keep up with, so makes a lot of sense.
Gul'dan in particular is just crazy. Like, the amount of stacks that you get when you're fighting around the shrines is just absolutely fantastic. We have other bans for Russian Circus that we could also see if they're totally willing to just let BeGenius have whatever tank they want. They could try and focus a bit more on the damage dealers. We have Falstad still out there. We have Li Ming still out there. Decent damage dealers. This is also one of the maps. Thrall, also decent.
Yeah,
especially, of course, since Earthquake gets a lot of value on the shrines. But there's another hero that I want to throw in. We rarely see him these days, but if being picked, this is one of the maps, Kel'Thas. Sometimes plays a role here. Gets a lot of value out of his AoEs and can be played if he fits the composition, if they wait for a bit longer. We have seen him, I think, in the last qualifier, was even in this one, I can't remember.
I believe it was the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty effective, and Russian Circus have already shown they're fairly willing to pick Jaina, so Jaina or Kael'thas could work out for them quite nicely. BeGenius also have the option of one of those. They've been given the option of which tank they want. Russian Circus don't seem to be that bothered about which one they play against, and BeGenius decide that choice is going to be the Johanna for them, and looks like they're going to go for the Li Ming here as opposed to the Jaina or the Kael'thas, so limiting themselves in terms of Shrine AoE, really relying on Johanna to group up the objective so that Li Ming has a better chance of hitting them, but Li Ming now very limited on hitting heroes during those Shrine fights.
She's definitely going to rely heavily, of course, on those resets again, which is one of the biggest advantages that you have with Li Ming, the ability to snowball a team fight. We are mentioning Kael'thas here, even though he's like fairly out of meta at this point, because he is currently one of the underrated heroes that we have that still sees play occasionally. We have Russian Circus right now, on the other hand, with a Diablo trying to control the choke points. You haven't seen that in a while.
Hooray!
It was something that MVP Black has actually done for a long time, trying to just control choke points on Infernal Shrines, and most of the time playing that together with the Kerrigan, which in this case wouldn't really fit the comp anymore. But the Jaina, that we pointed out and you talked about, Tetcher, is now added as an option, so there is actually a really good chance that we are even going to see a mosh pit on the side of ETC. So far, most ETC players leaning more in favor of a stage dive, but in this series we have seen it come into play every now and then.
The stage dive can still work here, giving a slow, which gives Diablo more time to get an Apocalypse off. That's what he goes for. He could also do the Lightning Breath, but the Apocalypse gets a bit more value here. However, BG is wanting to potentially counter that, hovering over the Tyrael, the Sanctification, a super good counter to either of Diablo's heroics if they can group up effectively.
Yeah, Tyrael can be a game changer here again. BeGenius and Russian Circus with solid draft. That's Diablo, definitely a bit of surprise coming into play. We haven't seen that hero in ages, so there's a lot of confidence apparently on Russian Circus in that particular comp. But it's also it's something that you expect from a Russian team, coming up with these picks that they all of a sudden throw out that you don't really expect, and it worked well for them so far. The aggressive style that we've seen in the first few games was pretty fantastic. Infernal Shrines, again, ladies and gentlemen, is the 4th map in the best of 5 series, so we're going to jump in and let's find out together which team is going to take victory here. Alright everybody, game number 4 has just started. The Russian Circus is still in the lead here with a 2-1, and if they claim victory on this map, then they will advance to play in Blizzard's 2017 League. At this point, we have to the left side, Tank for the win on the Tyrael for the French team, Unstable on Malfurion. We're currently seeing Danatano, Johanna, Arakin on Tychus, and Kirava on Li Ming. And to the right side, Mopsio not playing the ETC. We've been talking about it a bit, or being a potential weakness for him. But he's playing currently Diablo, so they actually switched it around and put Power of Dream on ETC. Sir Ice Cream is playing Vala, Neon on Jaina right now, and Sefkarja on one of his comfort heroes playing Oriel, and is most likely going to go for a full heal build with a bit of a focus on level 4 on the Detainment Strike to get the extra slow in here. So that's something that we can watch out for. But especially Diablo, quite a bit of a surprise.
Quite a bit of surprise indeed, but it could be due to the fact that we have seen Mopsio taking a lot of focus from the other team lately. So he is starting off at level 1 with his Devil's Due, reducing his revive count to 60. This is a talent that just gets immense value in the late game. So we will have to keep an eye on that. So he has the potential to potentially give his life for his team here, or at least give his life in favor of an objective a little bit later on. Preferably you obviously don't want it to happen, but it can work out in their favor.
Diablo, of course, is a Punisher. If you're out of position, he's the one to really dash in, flip you around, stun you out, and make these plays. He can also set up quite nicely for heroes like Jaina with an Apocalypse, depending on how exactly ETC in particular plays. But there's quite a few things that they could do. We have seen a lot of Lightning Breath on this map in particular. It is definitely going to be an interesting game. You don't see a Diablo these days all too often, so let's see how that plays out for them. Also noteworthy, Frog taken on ETC as a level 1 talent, so he's trying to help out Sefkarj a little bit, healing the team.
Yep, so they have a huge amount of AoE potential here. Diablo very likely to take his AoE damage talent that he gets from his Fire Stomp on level 4, so he can get some good AoE on the shrines as well. They have the damage from the Searing Light. They just want to be able to win the shrines, and if their opponents try to contest, use the abilities and the amount of CC and burst that they do have to try it and punish them.
Yes, Ice Cream being attacked here, Tang. Oh yeah, Mopsio not going for it. Mopsio actually holding back here quite a bit, and I like it. He was known for a long time to be a bit too aggressive and to jump in too frequently. Right now he's really picking his battles. So solid play on all of the tanks that we've seen so far today. BeGenius, extremely impressive performance throughout the tournament. Team really showing their strength, starting to make that comeback here. But let's find out if they can actually really go back into the series by dropping or taking the 4th game now as well. Adjustments on level 4 now for them with survivability and the loss of hope after reinforcements for Johanna, trying to stay alive a bit longer. And a focus actually on Smite for Tyrael as the fight still rages on over the first punch.
Yeah, both teams attempting to grab something. Mopsio does have Fire Devil, so he has a bit more AoE, which is where a lot of Diablo's old value came, but he gets knocked down and is wiped out. Not enough souls for revive, and so is Sir Ice Cream.
Yeah, BeGenius taking a double kill here, and that will result in them claiming Punisher #1. After they lost the initial 2 maps, they are showing really good play now on map number 3, and so far at least on map number 4.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy for them right now. They looked strong on the shrine for a while. They were getting a good amount of AoE damage and killing off a lot of skeletons, but immediate turnaround from BeGenius just putting on the pressure.
Now, one of the things that we have in this game lacking in comparison to all of the games that we've seen before in the series is global heroes. We don't really have anybody that can split soak on another lane, maybe with the exception of potentially ETC, depending on the heroic ability that he chooses on level 10. So far, the teams have been focusing a lot on heroes like the Haka, Brightwing, Falstad, just trying to get that extra experience and also the opportunity to gank up on an opponent's team's hero. This time we are seeing more of a straightforward game, focusing on the objective here. The 7 talents are, thanks to the kill and the first Punisher, faster for BeGenius, and the French team taking a slight lead on a map that can be very snowball.
Yeah, they're doing a pretty good job here, and the fact is, Diablo's having to play a little bit more passive than we thought he would, and we did call this a little bit earlier, especially though due to Tychus. He has taken in the rhythm, so not only is he already shredding for a big chunk of Diablo's health, which is actually why Diablo took Devil's Due as opposed to the regen talent that he can get on level 1, it also means that the more Diablo is actually tanking, especially up to Araken, the stronger Araken is going to become in the late game.
Yeah, the bot lane, we're still seeing Diablo hold this against 2 heroes, Kiava and Arcane, plus, Unstable actually even as well. So 3 heroes going for camps and trying to push the bot lane in. At the top we have the camp taken. So far the second shrine hasn't been announced yet, but we have level 7 talents, which leads for Diablo in the diabolical momentum.
Yeah, not taking the resistant talent, which is the other talent we see Diablos taking every now and again from the Shadow Charge, which can combo quite well with the reduced cooldown, so we can get basically 8 seconds worth of resistance at level 16, which can get decent value, but in this case, he wants to be able to do huge AoE damage, which can once again help them burst down a shrine.
Level 10 abilities are going to be extremely interesting here, because that potential synergy that we have between a lot of the heroics that could be dropped for the Russian team is pretty huge. But we've seen, especially in the last game, how much of an influence a good Sanctification can have on these late game team fights, and that is something that the Russian Circus needs to be very worried about. The bottom fort has been taken out, and it looks a bit like we are seeing the French team aiming for an early level 10 to get that Punisher. I'm not quite sure if you have the time though for it.
Yeah, they're trying to race as much XP as possible, but 26 skeletons already gathered for Russian Circus here, and they have huge control of this objective. Mopsio dropping a stop, but he's not actually standing on the point, because once again, this is what we said, he could just give too many stacks over to Arakin. Instead, he pulls back and starts rotating around to continue grabbing XP for his team, while still stomping, getting a little bit of AoE damage onto the objective. But there is no way Russian Circus can push too aggressively with this. Level 10 has been hit for BeGenius.
Yeah, if you go in too deep right now with 10 available, you're losing a few heroes on the way back. And this is actually that ETC should be very worried about. So Power of Dream goes back very late. In this case, it could have backfired immensely. He's still alive, he's safe, so it's 10 versus 9.5. They're going to get their heroics very soon, Russian Circus, but there is the gank up on ETC. Bit later than expected, didn't have to use any of their cooldowns. They get the kill though. Level 11 already for the French team, as we're still seeing the Russian Circus struggle towards the next talent.
Yeah, they're doing their best. They've won the objective, but they're struggling to soak lanes just due to BeGenius putting on some great rotations thanks to their talent advantage here. Now we're seeing a big aggressive push onto this top lane, trying to take down the fort as quickly as they can. Ariel, though, positioned carefully to help out Sour Ice Cream if they need to.
We actually... I mean, BeGenius impressed us against Team Liquid by showing a lot of aggressive plays and being really very pushy about every single advantage, no matter how small. Against the Russian Circus, they lost it a bit on the earlier maps, but I feel like they're finding back into their old rhythm right now. Now it's time for level 10 though, and it's already a 3-0 on the kill count, but we have the heroic abilities for the Russian team, which at this point are Stage Dive. We see the Lightning Breath, so a lot of zone abilities here. Ring of Frost too. And this is going to be where the game really starts, I feel. But that lead that we have for the French team is something that the Russian Circus has to try to make up for.
Yeah, the Halitosis Diablo going to have to very much rely on the slow from Stage Dive or the root from Ring of Frost in order to get the full value out of that. Otherwise, exactly like you said, it's going to just be a zoning ability. And for a 60-second cooldown, not the kind of thing you want to use just for zoning. Not the longest cooldown in the world, but you still want to try and get at least some damage out of it.
Yeah, we have a bottom shrine reactivated, and again, it's only half a level. And I feel this time the chances of BeGenius to soak enough to get the next talent are very, very high. So if they make that work, they will have a massive advantage. They're even trying to take the well away, so no fountain to just go back and recharge mana and hit points. This is getting a bit dirty, and it seems like the Russian Circus actually agrees. They're just saying like, yeah, we're never going to get that, so let's just go to the top lane and drop a fort instead. That's going to help us. We can even push in maybe towards that keep a little bit more, but we're going to lose the Punisher eventually.
Yeah, and they, like you said, they had no chance of capping it, but in exchange, we're seeing a push on the bot lane coming out of BeGenius. They want to try and get any kind of counter hits. They know they'll get the objective, so they just want to make sure that they're not trading an objective for a push. Instead, they want to trade an objective and a push for a push. And it's working out for them, because now we're going to have to see Russian Circus be back to base to defend this and give up on their push. Whereas BeGenius have only just started, because they now have that Punisher.
This means keep, 100%. This is going to be a keep for sure. Very unlikely that they can push it farther than that, but the keep is going to be taken. So that, or it should at least be. There's the push.
Nice
13 versus 13 talents at this point now, though. We have even the repelling strike taken, which is definitely not the usual talent. Nice stage dive, good slide. Wow, the Ring of Frost comes in. Holy cow, it's a triple kill. We just saved the keep, get a triple kill, and try to chase the rest of the team. What the hell just happened, Tetcher?
Can you say combination? Because I can. Arake getting chased down. The boss, the Punisher, still going. It's still got a good chunk of health, but they were able to grab Tychus as well with this chase. Thanks to Diablo charging onto a minion to give himself some extra chase potential. The key may actually still go down here. This is the Sentinels here doing some good job. Sentries. Oh, it lives. It lives.
They save it for now, but that really felt... I mean, they got completely blindsided here. That combo hurt, and it hurt a lot. 4 kills out of the back of that. Decent value, saving the keep even.
Yeah.
God knows how that happened.
Mopsio
Great pull into the mid
Punisher
lane.
all the way over to mid keep. He was able to delay it on there. You can see mid keep actually way less than half health at this point because the Punisher was just wailing on it without any kind of defense. But 2 half health keeps better than not having one of your keeps.
I mean, that was crazy good. Baiting the Punisher in the mid lane, pretty standard there, but well executed. Not making any mistakes with this, and the engage this time was perfect. I mean, they are still in a bit of a weird position here, but they have taken the lead in experience. They have to guard the bot lane because one hero that moves in will destroy it. So I guess that's going to be a sneak kill at some point in the game. But at least in experience, they have fully recovered and they can now fight on even talents again. That was a nice comeback.
Yeah, Mopsio still doesn't even use his heroic there. That entire fight was without a good knockback from Sevka, trying to save Neon. There is the Aegis. In comes the Ring of Frost. Doesn't hit anyone. Neon is deleted here. There's the Sank. And this is the kind of fight that BeGenius were looking for. There's the Lightning Breath trying to do something. Mopsio will fall here, but he has enough souls. It is a 2 for 1 right now. We're 2 for 2.
The resets. Oh, that was actually like really close there. And they got the kill against Living Power of Dream. What the hell? And Donatan says like, screw it. I'm gonna take the keep. I don't care if I die or not, but that thing goes down now.
The question is, will he die? The speed boost has been given to him by Tyrael. He's on the run. The shields come in. Mopsio charging after him. He doesn't get the overpower. Donatan speeding out thanks to the extra speed from Tyrael, and they get the key.
What is this? Like, that fight was basically just like 2 guys in the ring without a defense at all, just wailing at each other. And if not for these kills and the resets on Li Ming, that would have been a complete wipe against the French team. But they took so much advantage out of the resets and Li Ming got the damage in. These fights are getting insane.
They really are, and with both teams at level 16, they're only going to get more crazy. Imposing presences coming in for Diablo, ETC, and Johanna here, trying to block any kind of damage. Ariel, yet to pick her 16, still hesitating on it. Is she going to go for the ability power? Yes, she is finally picking it for Neon.
Oh, Vala losing connection for a moment. That gives out a bit of a breather. We have currently the Wrath of Heaven taken. The ability power, you said it, for Jaina is going to be super strong. That's going to help a lot with those wombos that they're trying to establish right now. Just making sure that they get that in. Vala herself with the Seething Hatred here, so that's another big talent, just waiting for the auto attacks to happen. And that is pushing Johanna then back a little bit later. Besides that, when we're looking at the raw damage, Diablo has actually the highest hero damage of the red team. Russian Circus, 13,000, which overall is not too much if you compare it to Li Ming, who, I mean, let's face it for a moment, really, really capitalized on that last fight and racked up a lot of numbers there.
Yeah, she would have probably got ETC as well if she hadn't grouped up with her team and made it so that she was caught in the stun as well. As Pharaoh Dream just picked her off, just like, oh, you're still here? Okay, I'll kill you then. And that allowed Mopsio to just rejoin the fight after that revive. Mopsio getting some insane value out of Devil's Due for the moment.
Sevka, it was actually like really interesting because Sevka, when Mopsio started to go for the Lightning Breath, we still had a situation in which Sevka was trying to heal him, and if the cooldown would have been a little bit lower, he would have been able to keep him alive completely. So that would have been really close. My favorite moment in the last fight, to be quite frank, was when we suddenly had Donatan saying like, screw this, I'm going to take that thing now. Like,
I'm done with this.
They are fighting 2 versus 2, like half a screen away, and he's just like, no, I'm going to go in. Like, no matter if I die, this keep falls now. Even if I die, it doesn't matter. We are still 10 minutes in. But yeah, I mean, at this point, we are still looking at 16 versus 16. We're actually looking at the fight right now. And we have everybody on the panel, or everybody like on the point. And when you look at the heroic abilities, there actually are still a couple of important cooldowns that are not ready for BeGenius. They're still waiting for Malfurion getting his silence back. That's another 10 seconds. That isn't too crazy. They can stall out for that. But 26 seconds on the drill, that's a bigger issue, especially if you consider that we already have 21 minions taken on the side of Russian Circus.
Yeah, we also have the fact that Russian Circus, despite also being ahead on the minions, they also have all their heroics. So if they can burst them down quickly, or at least force a fight right now, they're going to be in a very advantageous position. And we will see that Mopsio and Valor are going to take a lovely Arcane Orb to the face. There's going to be no dodging that, even with the power of the pause. But they're going to take some good damage from this.
Yeah, for sure. The heal should be there shortly after that. But already the Lightning Breath. Oh! Goodbye, Diablo! And the rest of the team is already on the run. Diablo will be back soon. We talked about his level 1 talent, of course, and his trait in particular. But yeah, they're still poking it. 31! They have 31 minions. Of course, they're going to lose out a little bit, but Diablo is about to be back. Cooldowns have been used. They're talking cooldowns. Here comes the stage dive.
He just used to try and keep ETC alive as he immediately got rooted. Ring of Frost lands on 2. The objective, only 3 left. It is finally going to be taken. Actually, will it? Yes, there it goes, finally. Over to Russian Circus, but they're going to lose almost everyone here. Neil going to be the only survivor. Mopsio nowhere near enough souls to survive this one.
Oh, okay, so Diablo is finally down for the count. The Ragdoll thrown around here. There comes the Punisher. And are they defending? For a moment, they all walked to the right side. They were basically just saying, okay, guys, what can we actually take here? Do you... I mean, I don't really believe that they were trying to go for the core here, but do you think they were thinking about simply, like, sneaking in at the side and backdooring the keep?
I think they might have been considering it. It's super low. They might have been able to push through if they had been able to use Tyrael to defend, but it's not worth the risk. Jada has too much burst damage, which is why they left it. And this game is starting to feel very familiar. We are seeing BeGenius controlling a game, winning it for just completely crushing in terms of structures, and yet Russian Circus appear to be winning almost every team fight and the majority of the objectives. This is very familiar, Khaldor.
It's a bit of a reverse of what we had in the last game, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, we are still in a situation in which there is a lot of potential for these wombos that we experienced in the first team fight that happened here. So, for now, Holy Ground, of course, also a big tool for them. But I'm really curious about these upcoming fights here, because I think a lot of the abilities that we had in the last one didn't really hit as they wanted to. The Ring of Frost so far were decent, but we had a couple of those really miss quite a bit. So I want to see how much they can actually do if they land that combo once completely, if also Vala gets her ult through a little bit longer. And it feels to me like Diablo all the way up at the front line and ETC too, they exposed themselves a lot both times they used the Lightning Breath and also that stage dive that we saw on ETC. They were waiting for him to come down and try to drop him, even with the Aegis being used.
Yeah, any single time that Diablo is far forward, all we're seeing is Malfurion dropping the root, and then Titan Grenade, and then in the river minigun from Tychus. Then Diablo is just getting shredded. He needs any kind of protection. But now, he's going in. The aggressive zoning Lightning Breath here, he will survive. The root actually prevented from grabbing the camp for a while, but they will steal that away, but bot lane is pushing hard.
Douchebag move right there. Thanks for all the work. We're going to take that now. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Tyrael actually scouted every bush except that one with his Q, so they were able to steal that quite nicely. You see Mopsio clearing mid, but bot lane pushing all the way to the core at this point.
Exactly, the bot lane is going to be defended. That's not the issue. I feel the bigger problem is that Power of Dream uses cooldown. So he jumped in. He can defend that. I'm not really worried about that. What I'm really worried about is that he might not be ready for the top lane. Because right now there's 5 seconds left. His heroic ability is on another 30. He can't wait that long. And a catapult is moving in as is. So they need to win that fight. And they are actually at this point willing to even sacrifice a bit of damage on the core.
There's still a single mercenary as well. Mopsio once again getting targeted. He is down. No souls. He doesn't have enough. He's on the 60-second cooldown. Power of Dream coming in to defend his team here. But they can't win this fight now.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem. He didn't have the cooldown on the stage dive. The fight happened before he was up at the top. Now it's a 5 versus 4. Them stealing the camp and not getting any additional kills basically might have cost them the game just now, because this is going to be another Punisher for BeGenius, and it will be level 20. And we can see how much value they get out of it. But losing the objective is because they sacrificed the cooldown and didn't get anything in return.
Yeah, they were able to grab a mercenary camp that was stolen away. We are seeing Russian Circus gaining any value they can. They know they need 20 if they're going to want to keep fighting in this game, and they are able to grab mid-keep. Mid-wall, sorry. They're still going. They actually want mid-keep. They're going to at least get the wall on this while they have minions. Then they need to be back and defend. This towers will probably give them 20, so they will be able to defend on even talents. You need to be back quickly, Sir Ice Cream. Your team needs you.
Yeah, Diablo is going to be there, so everybody is on the way back right now. It should be a keep that falls here. Well, even if they bait into the mid lane keep will get a lot of pressure. It is also an Arcane Punisher. I mean, that makes things even worse. We have Diablo with a lot of terror right now. We're seeing also Death Metal. So ETC is willing to sacrifice himself here. Diablo already being attacked. The Aegis is on the ground as we see immediately Tyranny losing his own ult. They're moving in. Good strafe coming out of Ice Cream with the Ring of Frost being on the ground with the Breath of Fire pushing everybody back. And once again the kill against Malfurion actually. This is once more the Russian Circus going full ham, sacrificing ETC. That Death Metal is the end of Tyrael as they're trying to keep up. He walks through the Arcane. Why on earth would you do that?
He had enough souls, but like you said, that was terrible. He didn't want to move up top, so instead he walked into his death. And Neon, having to drop the Ice Block there to survive the turrets. That Arcane Punisher doing so much damage. But overall, that is 2 kills for 2, but the difference is Diablo's already back.
It's unbelievable that they are able to save these keeps. That should not happen. That should absolutely not happen. That's a huge problem on the side of BeGenius. They were twice now in situations where it was more or less a guaranteed kill on a keep. And they had problems in both of these. So right now, moving back, maybe Malfurion a bit too far forward. He wanted to go for the silence, he got that through, but that was a big issue for them. Also, I am not sure if that waste of a cooldown on Mopsio with him dying there is not going to come back to bite them.
They absolutely need to get enough souls. He only needs a couple, but he needs to get them as quick as possible, unfortunately. My UI doesn't show how many souls he has.
I mean, that's really dangerous right now. Them losing the... I mean, that was insane. I mean, him dying there, he walked with the Arcane Sentry. That happened to me playing Diablo 3, and then I was already mad. But he... that's... Well, okay. Let's see how that works out for them. That is a crazy game. This could be the last game of the series. There's so much on the line here.
Yeah, this could be. If Russian Circus can win a team fight here and an objective in either mid or top lane, they may be able to push through for the win. But that bot lane still under pressure. And even if it does win the bot lane and Russian Circus could win the objective, there's still a fort in the way. Bot lane is a terrible place for Russian Circus to be.
Yeah, this time they're all 5 up in the top lane. They're not going to waste another cooldown here. Bot lane, okay, they need to win this one. You're totally right. There's a camp pushing through the mid lane.
They can't capitalize on it. It's the worst case scenario for Russian Circus right now.
Okay, so I mean, if they win the fight, then it's all good. And but still, this has been so close the entire time. All of their cooldowns are ready. It's all good, but still, it's like these fights have been crazy. The complete team wipe, and the turnaround. Li Ming capitalizing on the resets at the other fight that we saw at the bot lane, and now this one. This is what it comes down to, Tetcher.
Mopsio getting chased down. He is the target here. They want to try to avoid attacking Power of Dream unless Power of Dream is far enough away that they're not going to get caught in that death battle. Mopsio getting focused out by the laser. He's actually able to kill the laser. There is the root. He keeps himself alive thanks to the shield from Ariel. Power of Dream into the backline. He just once again focusing on Mopsio. Mopsio getting focused. He saves himself with Lord of Terror. He's finally killed off, but he has enough souls.
He even dashed away to a minion to save himself there. They've dropped so much on him. 2 cooldowns remain though, and that's the silence on Malfurion and the sanctification. They can still drop those. The fight continues. The lead on the blue team. Here comes the Ice Cream. ETC jumps in. Doesn't hit anybody. Silence is in. They want to punish him. Li Ming is down though. That's a huge kill.
Diablo's back, he still has his ult, they're going up to Tychus. The Sanctification is nowhere near him. Here comes the Lightning Breath to try and take him down, but he's healing up thanks to his, that's the stuff. He survives, but he's caught in the death metal, and Tychus is taken down. That's a 2 for 2 technically, but Mopsio, guess what? He's back in the fight.
I love how Tychus just didn't give a shit. I mean, pardon my French here, but he just stands in, takes it, and says, like, laughs in his face and says, like, screw you, I'm gonna kill you. Talking about killing stuff. Look at the top lane. Yeah. Look at it. They are gonna lose a keep.
Jada's trying to defend it, but like you said, that was perfect. Tychus was like, oh, I'm sorry, you're the literal devil? Yeah, I can beat that. I can just gain health from you by shooting you. We're going to see Mopsio pushing in here with the rest of his team. They have the Punisher. Once again, they can't capitalize on it as much as they would have liked to because it is the bottom lane where there was still a fort to go through. Yeah. But they've managed to lose their top keep as well. They need to get some value out of this. Punisher chasing Johanna, though. They can't get as much as they like. Mopsio just tanking as much as he possibly can.
if that Punisher would have been taken by BeGenius, the game would be over since he would have walked right onto the core. But now they need to get at least the keep. Tychus is back in another 5 seconds. They need to burst this down. They need something to save their lanes at least. ETC goes in. Are they going to try for it? If they get a kill, they might as well. They're trying. Tetcher, they're trying. They're going for it. They know that they are behind overall. Once again with the unstoppable on Diablo as he going in straight away, and Jaeger is already being dropped to save them. But down goes Diablo for 60 seconds over all the course at 60%. So Ice Cream repulsion being used against him. Attacks the keep for 2. I don't even know why. The Punisher is still alive, but it's only Sefkasha. In power creep 20%. 20. That's not enough. The death of the death metal.
But it's not enough. Sir Ice Cream was actually knocked back after being rooted, so he was stuck in that position. The only thing to attack in range was the keep, and the keep slowed his attack, so he couldn't move on to the core. A disastrous attempt at core for the Russian Circus, and we're going to see BeGeniuses heading across the map to go for the Russian Circus core. The nearest cooldown is 20 seconds on Diablo. That is not enough, Khaldor.
Yeah. I mean, they just thought we have to try. They knew that it was like a huge risk, but oh god, 20%. We're gonna see a 5th game, Tetcher. This game, 22 kills against 12. Game number 5 coming in, ladies and gentlemen, as BeGenius takes Russian Circus to the last map of the best of 5 series. Okay guys, game number 5. I'm super happy with the series so far. Both of these teams play exceptional. I am loving it. It's actually great. Yes, there are mistakes on both sides. There's a lot of calls that you can in hindsight then say, okay, this was a bad choice. Should have done this differently. Maybe not push for core here. Maybe not use the stage dive there. But of course, it's always that risk-reward assessment that you have to make in the situation. And overall, it's just a super attractive series that we see from the two teams. Kudos and a big shout out already to BeGenius for making it work to force this 5th game. No matter how this ends, they have definitely gained a lot of respect here today. Being down 0-2 in a series and then being able to win 2 in a row like this and forcing the 5th map, that takes a lot. So a very stable team here so far. Dehaka is banned out. We are on Sky Temple. It is our 5th and last map in the series here. Whichever team wins Sky Temple is going to move to the 2017 League.
Yeah, and this is a interesting map to show it on. We've seen some of the longest games ever. We've seen some of the shortest games ever on this map. And did this drop literally start the second I stood up?
Yeah. And I just said that I'm super happy about like this entire series because it's so much fun. And the one thing that breaks my heart a little bit is that one of these teams will not make it today. And
they have a second chance, but I'd love to see both of these go through. But the fact is, we have another semi-final after this with 2 other teams with equal saying to get in this.
The Russian Circus with the ETC Thrall starting things up. Thrall definitely getting such a high priority now with Earthquake. And of course his bot lane pressure is also very, very nice. Zul banned out here. And for me personally, the pressure is really on the Russian Circus right now. BeGenius, they have shown that when they are behind, they still have the mental stability and the mental strength to say, no, we can win 3 in a row. We can make that happen. And they forced the Russian Circus into the last map. And in this moment, you can be certain there's a lot of nerve issues going on the Russian Circus side, for sure. If you are 2 overhead, in your mind, you're already like, can we actually lose this? Not really, right? And all of a sudden, you're forced into a game where the entire thing could flip against you.
Yeah, they've been pushed up against the wall here, and BeGenius, they were pushed up against the wall in the first 2 games, and apparently that's where they fight best, because nothing can hit them from behind there. They're going to be picking up the Tychus here, getting some good shredding potential. We saw just how spectacularly well the Tychus worked against Diablo.
Don't remind me. That was insane. He just stood there and laughed in his face and was just like, yeah, screw you. I'm going to take you down.
Tickles. That's actually a quote from him. I was just doing that as a joke, but
it
fair enough.
tickles tipples.
Tickled the dibbles. The dibbles, lord of hugs and tickles.
Oh, God. The Tyrael, okay. Tyrael being banned out right now. Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with the sanctification either if I was them. There were so many cool moments in the last game, in the entire series. I mean, I am loving this. This is just absolutely beautiful. So, we have BeGenius with the ban on... Yeah, there's a lot to choose from. That is definitely right. Jaina, Gul'dan, go for a ban on Falstad. There is a lot of heroes that had massive impacts here. I would probably try to get rid of either Gul'dan or Jaina, to be honest. With Thrall being there and the Earthquake, that would be what I would be worried about the most.
Falstad I can see the logic there,
great,
but the global from Falstad is just super valuable, especially considering that BeGenius actually have 0 globals at the moment, and we've seen how well they've done when they have globals and their opponents don't. Russian Circus, on the other hand, they already have the ETC for the potential stage dive. If they were able to get Falstad as well, they would have a lot of control over the map.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 arguments to be made for it for sure. There's the team fight potential, and then, of course, like trying to play strategically around the map. You can do both here quite easily. But it seems like we're having a hero that we didn't really see too much today. It looks like Sylvanas is going to make her first appearance in this series.
Yeah, and the Vala, so they're going to ignore the Falstad here completely. They still need their support. Brightwing could give them a bit more global, but Ariel could work very well with this Sylvanas. But overall, Russian Circus, they know what they want, they know what they like. Getting in that Sylvanas very early gives them a huge amount of split push potential.
So we have, okay, Johanna is being picked. Alrighty, Johanna, well, not picked just yet, but they actually hover over her. So let's see if they're going to lock her down. Yes, okay. So we have the Johanna at the front line for BeGenius right now. We have Li Ming and Tychus already. Really good damage output here for them. Second frontliner would probably not be too bad. There's a couple of choices that they can go for. And I mean, like, this is not really the comp where you expect something like an Illidan, for example. So the Tyrell has been banned out, which would have definitely been a good option for them. So actually, I'm actually a bit curious to see what they are taking right now. I mean, they are having options, but all of the standard choices that they made so far in this situation are gone.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. Zeratul is going to be picked as their last pick. Vala and Sylvanas, both a little bit more vulnerable, but Vala, later levels, can get that Gloom. Sylvanas, if she wants, can take Spell Shield. So Zeratul going to have to do some work. It's more about the auto attacks, though, nowadays with Zeratul.
Okay, this, like, there's going to be so much pressure right now on Zeratul. He needs to make the plays against the backline. He needs to be the one. And there's quite a few things that can ruin his day. Silence being dropped. Vala, if she goes for Rain of Vengeance with a stun. Thrall with something. ETC with a slide. Like, there's a lot of danger. But if Zeratul can make the plays, there is a chance for them. It's the last map, guys. We are on Sky Temple. Russian Circus versus BeGenius. Let's get this party started. Game number 5. It's the last game of the series. Not the last game of the day, but for these two teams, this is a shot that they have to make it into the League of 2017 to gain that $100,000 that you receive if you attend the league, not even considering prize money and team salary. To the left side, they were in the 2-0 lead and they were forced into the 5th map now. It's the Russian Circus with Mopsy on ETC, Neon on Vala, Sir Ice Cream on Sylvanas, Power of Dream on Thrall, and Sefkaja again on Karazhan. And to the right side, the French contender. They won 2 in a row now. Can they make it 3? Tank for the win on Zeratul. Unstable on Malfurion. Danatan on Johanna. Arcane on Tychus. And Kirva on Li Ming.
Starting off at level 1, we immediately see the aggression coming in because Sylvanas, BeGenius, not going to go all in because the lane prediction was correct from BeGenius. They were able to have enough heroes up there to scare Russian Circus off. But with some of the early talents, it's pretty standard. There's nothing that jumps out at all. Every hero going with what we would expect.
So this is what it really comes down to. It all came down to a last map, and it's Sky Temple. We have Sylvanas at the top lane against Malfurion and Li Ming, as in the mid lane the tanks are meeting each other. And talking tanks, Tank for the win is starting to roam the map, looking for opportunities to push the damage in and get kills. There was a big patch that changed a lot of the talents on the side of Zeratul as well, especially their position in the talent tree. Vorpal Blade's now on level 1 and the Wormhole on level 7, allowing him to make a lot of plays a lot earlier in the game thanks to the added mobility.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of Zeratul's talents were just changed. Or we have now Wormhole on level 7, which is the go-to talent for most heroes, as opposed to that level 13, which is what used to allow Zeratul to poke and then retreat. And that's what we may see here, dodging out the multi-shot here. Very nice by Tank for the win, but still revealed by the Hungering Arrow.
Casually walking past the AoE, and Arcane versus Power of Dream down here. These standoffs we've seen in the last map, they can backfire. Mopsio this time on the ETC, by the way. We've been talking about that earlier.
Yeah, we said it might be a problem for him, but we will keep an eye on it. He's played very well, even though he had a lot of deaths in that last game. He still played Diablo about as good as I think it was possible to in that last game there. Sevka dropping some heal onto Neon, keeping sustain up there, while Mopsio is attempting to delay this mid lane.
Yeah, Mopsio in the mid lane right now against 3, and oh my, alright, tank for the win. Trying to get that hit a little bit earlier. If he gets a slow in, they might really try and get that root on top of it. But in this case, both of the teams getting that level 4, getting the shots on those temples. But a lot of pressure already towards the fort up at the top lane.
Yeah, but level 4 talent for the Karazim here. I called this pre-game. It is going to be the air ally coming in for Karazim. That basically gives him 2 what could be called wards, just 2 little things that Karazim can dash to, but they give vision and reveal in an area. Basically 2 little scouting drones that Karazim can dash to. Very effective and great for area control and keeping an eye out for Zeratul.
Vision on the map is one of the things that, of course, is the most important here, and we've seen that several times in this series as well, where you were just trying, or where like teams were trying to set up traps and capitalize on them, and this is one of the things that he can really prevent with decent placement on these. The pressure play that we see thanks to Sylvanas is also another thing to really watch out for here, especially with those siege giants. If they get access to the fountain and kill that, then the second objective phase is going to be so much more difficult for the red team.
Yeah, look at that positioning from that little air ally for Sevka. You can see this camp is being taken, but they're still pushing in the bot lane very aggressively because they can see if anyone attempts to rotate round from above, so they know how far forward they can push, how safe they can be. Like you said, vision immensely valuable here.
The fountain barely surviving for now. There's a huge focus on the bot lane right now as we're seeing BeGenius trying to keep it alive. But we have Tank for the win, sitting in the bushes, waiting to see if he has an opportunity to jump that backline again. Still, Johanna up at the top lane, pushing out the lane since the fort is extremely low, and both teams so far have not made any attempts to go for their own bruiser camp.
Nope, neither team attempting that bruiser camp, but we usually see it about now-ish, or at least a little bit into the future, to make sure that it is grabbed in time for the next set of temples, which spawns in the bot lane. That's exactly what we see. Both teams rotating up there. They will kill it, but they usually will wait for the capture until the temple is announced, so that the objective can get as maximum amount of time actually pushing, as opposed to as maximum amount of time being killed by the enemy team. So both teams will probably pick them up now.
In this case, we actually had a chance for the blue team to forego that a bit or delay it and try to go for the fountain at the bot lane if they thought it was a higher priority. They didn't, so unless they are starting to make a quick play for it now or get the first shots on the temple, which they actually do and it destroys them, Arcane not moving on it, so they still get it, and this is going to result in the French team giving this up very likely.
Yeah, both teams roaming down here. It's a full 5 versus 5. Zeratul, though, staying a little bit further back, waiting for his chance, waiting for his opportunity. While Danatan moves onto the point. The air ally being dropped in this bush, keeping the vision, and it's immediately wiped by that arcade orb. But Para 3 taking a bit too much damage. But they have a good chance to engage the Russian Circus if they can use the Heavenly Zeal, level 7 talent from Sevka, which gives everyone healed by him extra movement speed. If they can use that well, they could dive deep.
I'm actually very surprised about what BeGenius just did. I really expected them, with everybody moving to the bot lane, to try and take control of the temple earlier. With the fountain not taken out, they had a chance to fight there, but as soon as the first few shots in the temple are going to Russian Circus, the fountain falls, and then you are sitting with 5 heroes at the bot lane, and you know when your opponent pre-taps or taps during the battle the well, you are going to fall a little bit behind. What they could have done instead was to simply rotate heroes onto some of the other lanes and trying to at least get a bit of an experience advantage thanks to the Russian Circus keeping heroes at the bot lane. We see that a lot actually when teams realize, hey, we're not going to get that second temple. They didn't do that, so that's a bit of an issue.
Root being dropped, Sevka not getting hit by it. Neon able to escape. Tank for the win. They turn around the damage. Tank for the win though. Will he survive? Yes, he will. Sevka far too deep there. 3 for 0 in favor of BeGenius, all because of the greed on the Tank for the win.
Yeah, and that was also, I mean, that was a great 4 vs 4 battle that we just saw there. But the heroic ability dropping in the middle of the fight, that allowed the immediate silence that we saw from Unstable. And all of a sudden, 3 kills against 0 and a push up there, that is making things super difficult. But we have at this point stage dive, so they could still try and engage here if they see an opportunity. Tank for the win played great in the last fight, but this is now starting to become a match in which both teams have their heroic abilities, and we could see those big team fights. But a great start that we have now for the French team after they lost the second temple earlier.
Karazim once again rolling with that 7-sided strike, not going for the Divine Palm this time. He trusts his team. You can keep yourselves alive. Instead, our comp is based around bursting people. I'm going to attempt to assist with that. They're able to grab top 4, putting some more pressure on and at least giving them a little bit more of a boost in XP so they can try and catch up with BeGenius.
Yeah, so at this point, top lane pressure happening. That's Sylvanas' value, as you said. I mean, Sylvanas, that is one of the biggest arguments in her favor. They went really deep though. That can backfire if your opponent is stopping you, but with ETC having the global mobility, they can always just like simply jump on it. And now it's time for the temples again. The one big advantage that we are seeing for the Russian Circus, which is insane, is the structural advantage on the map.
Yeah, they're starting to put some pressure on, and, well, it doesn't matter if you're behind in levels, behind in XP, as long as you kill your opponent's core first, that's all that matters. Mopsio, though, is going to be forced off of this objective by Tank for the win, as he didn't have vision of the rest of the players, and it was a good thing, too, because they were all in the jungle above him, so he could have easily been closed in on and picked off. So pulling back, working for him quite nicely, while Sylvanas still going to get some shots for Russian Circus in the top lane, so they don't lose out on anything too much.
Yeah, one fort is eliminated, so once again the bot lane being pushed hard. This is a fort that they're going to lose eventually anyways. Danatan moves in, only Mopsio is here, the rest of the team is now slowly joining up. They're looking to see if they can maybe make a bit of a move there, but Sylvanas is still top, so they can't take a fight yet. They need to be careful with this. They're just defending. Sylvanas can push another wave out. The level 13 is coming in, and with that we are now seeing a spell shield taken, which is now inactivatable of course too. We're also seeing Illusionist taken and Burning Rage, a little bit more wave clear, whereas on the other hand a double spell shield is already in play against that Theming.
We also see Gloom, which is basically Valor's version of Spell Shield, which is sort of a passive spell block along with an activatable which burns it, and another Spell Shield coming in from Sylvanas at the end as well. So 4 and a bit Spell Shields coming in this game.
Also being a bit careful of Zeratul here, of course. So right now, another camp taken. I mean, this is getting... Both teams are looking for a chance here, for a bit of an opportunity for a big fight. But from a structural point of view, it's still the advantage as the stage dive comes in. And we have also on the ground the Earthquake. Good stray from Neon. On the ground, the drill. Silence is also decent. Big problem is, though, they didn't get any kills out of that. They dropped all 5 cooldowns on the heroics, whereas we only saw 3 being used for the opponent's team.
Yeah, one of them will be back straight away. That Li Ming heroic is already available. So now they have Twilight Dream, the Blessed Shield, and of course, the Wave of Force. So they have a lot more potential to try and pick someone up here. Obviously, are getting body blocked at Tank for the win, completely missing the cleave there. But either way, both teams scouting out this boss area. But Russian Circus thinking about it a bit more, because they can still see Malfurion clearing that top lane thanks to that Bruce.
Yeah, the question is really, can they drop it in time? Even with the Barb Shot on Sylvanas, it's going to be a challenge. And let's not forget that we have also Danatan still with the Blessed Shield. I highly doubt that they are willing to really commit to the boss at this point. If they get it, on the other hand, at some point in this game, Sylvanas can help them to push straight for keep or core. So we still have 0 kills for the Russian Circus, but there is a lot of potential for them to capitalize on one team fights. And if they get an early kill on a hero like Johanna, that would be a dream come true, of course.
The full 7-sided strike lands onto Danatan. They're chasing him down, and he's finally picked off, and that is a first kill for Russian Circus, and that is the perfect timing as well. With 10 seconds left on the temple, they have time to try and grab the boss. Tank for the win is in position. He does not have Void Prison and was scouted out by the air ally. They know he's here. They will have Encore with ETC, who's coming from above. He actually sees Zeratul there. They're just going to walk past him, make sure he's zoning out. And the boss is grabbed by the Russian Circus, and they're still going to be in position to get a temple.
Hashtag it couldn't be worse. Still Johanna down. We have Temple now taken. They're taking another camp at the bot lane. So now we have actually the option of just simply taking Temple. We still also have the stage dive, so they can push through the bot lane, soak shots, and then jump in with ETC. Top lane fort is going down. So now at least Russian Circus, they need to get value out of this at the bot lane, but the potential for them to get a lot of worth, a lot of buck for their money is actually amazing.
Yeah, Sylvanas doing a good job at disabling, but the Dragon Laser Drill getting some great value onto the boss here. One of the best talents for dealing with bosses. We're seeing Sir Ice Cream attempting to burst it down before disabling the keep. Keep now disabled. Boss on half health. ETC still ready to stage dive if he needs to, but right now he's beginning to move up to top temple. Oh god.
Here comes the Void Prison. He needs to go in soon. He's starting to go in, but the insta-kill against Sylvanas instantly blown up the silence also on Thrall. Great kills here. 1, 2, 3. They save Zeratul somehow in an attempt to just catch the rest of the team. But the keep has still fallen. The keep is down. The 2 remaining players are currently trying to escape here. Top lane in the meantime is getting pushed by the remainders of the camp that was taken earlier. 6 kills against 1 overall. Can they save Mopsio? That's the question. He's low. He could slide, but it's too late. ETC is dying as well.
Yeah, it falls straight down the hole, taking some huge damage. He tried to escape once again, thanks to his crowd surfer, but he's still getting pressured. And now we're seeing, not even bothering with the top temple, we're going to see BeGenius trying to even up the keep count here, putting some pressure on. We're now seeing Tank for the win, finally take that top temple, deciding not to help his team. But with everyone back except for ETC, we're seeing Russian Circus trying to drive back. They won't save the keep because of Zeratul grabbing that temple, but they at least stop it going down and stop at least a couple of those shots moving on to the other keeps.
That insta-kill against Sylvanas was worth so much. And a lot of the heroic abilities for Russian Circus were not ready yet. One of them being the Thrall Sundering, the Earthquake, which would have made a huge difference there. So now, even though they got the boss, we are ending up in a situation in which both of the teams have lost the keep, and the structural advantage that we saw earlier for the team in blue is now reduced to minimum. We have still all of the towers except for one in the mid lane available, but they lost, of course, still that one keep at the top lane, so one lane pushing for each team, and a pretty decent experience advantage for the French team.
Yep, they're looking pretty good at the moment. They're wanting to try and gain even more control though. And Zeratul, we've already seen how good their one-shot is. A big part of that was what we saw in the fight. Sentenced to death coming in here. So Zeratul does 50% more damage to enemies that have his Singularity Spike on them, which is a big part of how we saw Sylvanas getting killed so quickly. Question is he going to be able to consistently land that? Because right now, Russian Circus pushing in with Bruiser Camp.
Yeah, they're pushing with the Bruiser Camp. They're trying to use Sylvanas again. ETC in the mid lane, soaking, and of course attempting to see when he can jump in with a stage dive. They decide to move back for now, but the threat is of course the earlier level 20 talent for BeGenius. Once the French team picks that up, they might be able to decide that game in their favor on the back of a one-team fight. But right now, they still lead massively in kills, 7 against 1. But we have seen situations like this in this series, where one team fight changed everything.
Yeah, we've seen it a couple times now. We're actually seeing him move in. Here comes the stage dive. Doesn't land. The Void Prism does, though. Wailing Arrow to try and prevent the follow-up damage. But once again, Valor this time is annihilated. And ETC, even with the Encore, isn't able to zone out. The Earthquake slows down the chase, though. Power of Dream getting chased down by Tag for the win. Looks like they will be able to escape, especially thanks to the speed boost from Sevka. But another so quick burst from the Zeratul. That Void Prism has been on point.
Tank for the win, making the big plays at this point. I mean, that Void Prison was just worth so much. Him blowing up targets like Sylvanas and also Vala. Of course, another huge difference in these fights, but his Void Prisons have been on point. This one was so perfect. It couldn't have been any better. Sylvanas was trying to prevent the worst, but simply going straight for that silence, which was actually very well executed. But now we have another temple in favor of the French team. BeGenius is taking the mid-temple, is putting the pressure onto the keep before Vala comes back. Mopsio takes the camp together with the rest of his team. We're seeing level 20 talents, and this is an entire level lead. Tetcher, BeGenius is about to win the 3rd game in the series, 3 in a row.
They're looking like it right now. Russian Circus on the back foot. They're doing everything they can to keep themselves in this game. They're roaming as a group to prevent being picked off. ETC in a scouting position to try and prevent the boss if it's being snuck away. But right now, Russian Circus, they're just trying to soak XP. They're getting as much as they can. Mopsio now coming out of a scouting position to clear waves even quicker. They have Sylvanas clearing the top lane. BTC might swap with her just so he can stage dive in if he's required. But it looks like they are all just going to wait here, just grabbing more mercs, grabbing XP. They need 20, but they can't afford to not keep an eye on that boss.
I'm a little bit scared of what Zeratul can do now with the Rewind. he already played great so far in this game. If he gets a really good combo off, including rewind on top of it, he can just insta-kill someone straight away once more. And if that happens, then it could be lights out for the Russians. At this point, they're still trying to get full experience, and Zeratul is already on the chase again. They're all dashing away. Everybody's moving. Everybody's moving out. Boss has been started. ETC move to the top. They want to have 20. They're desperately trying to go for 20. Get the level 20 talent, somehow the experience, and then just go straight for the fight.
He'll have stage dive. We see Sevka dropping the air ally. He knows the boss is being done. They need to go now. It's taken too late. They've just got 20. It was not in time. It was a race against time. Now they have to win this fight, win this defense to stay in the game. Whereas BeGenius, they're going to look to end with this. This is their opportunity. Can they have pulled off the upset count, or can they pull off the comeback of all time?
I mean, right now it's getting really scary. They need to win the battle. The Earth and Shield, a lot of the tools that they have are amazing. But as you said, they need to move past boss at some point here and try to take it down. ETC already goes past. They're going into the backline. Here comes the Void Prison. They are focusing on ETC once again, but in the backline, Mion is still there. There's the silence, the root, and down goes ETC. They get the kill, preventing from moving into the Void Prison. The Earthquake is already on the ground as they attempt to get the kill against Danatan. Not working out so far, but Johanna is still in trouble.
And Danatan saved from the seven-sided strike by Tychus walking into it there. We're seeing Zeratul continue to do damage, but they finally kill off Danatan. The boss, however, will get the keep. It's a 1-for-1 here. Difference is, when ETC comes back, he'll be able to stage dive in, whereas Johanna won't, but the keep is dead. They now have to fight on both of these shrines, or this is game over.
Yep, the shots are being fired quite literally. Down goes that last catapult. They're going up to the top. They're getting Li Ming, but can they really save the core? The core is already about to take damage. They're moving players down to the bot lane. Unstable is trying to stop Sevkasha for as long as he possibly can. Sevkasha is moving in. Zeratul is going for the core though. Tetcher, this is over. They've done it. BeGenius take game number 3 in a row after they were down 2 maps. Russian Circuit does have to try again in the third. BeGenius is qualified for HGC 2017.